Alrighty,
Mr.
Vickridge. Welcome back for the second time. For those, I mean, no one knows, man, but
let's tell them.
This is the second podcast. I mean, I don't like throwing people under the bus, and I'm not going to name any names, but someone forgot to push record on the
this guy, right? No.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
Yeah. Fucking Nath. I mean, but you know what?
It worked out perfectly.
It does, man. And we're going to talk about this because there's the yin and the yang. There's the positive, there's the negative. And the positive in that is that I've had the opportunity to, one, do some work with you. And also get a little bit more clear about the methods, the practices, the tools that you offer, man, the work that you do in healing and growth, and because it's amazing, man. And so I really my intention for this podcast, right, is to give the listeners as much information about what you do along those lines. I feel that we might even dive into like a live practice or a live
demonstration or something.
Or something, if something comes up for myself. Perfect.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Now, you know, because I've got a little bit here of like doing some juice detox talks, because I feel like I've got a lot of questions around that, man, and I'd love, because it can be quite overwhelming. Demartini practices, man. I want to know more about that.
Yep.
I do know a lot about that because we've,
dived in.
Yeah, we've dived in, man, and I'll talk about my journey with that, bro. Totally. That's a little bit.
And the journey can go for so long as well. I mean, I'm still learning. We're all learning, right? So
yeah.
It's like sometimes it's just like opening the door and then you just open it to a vast room that is just never ending in a way that's beautiful. You know, it's like the mystery that you get to just keep learning and keep evolving and keep refining and keep polishing. You know.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm going to start with, man, I mean, I was going to get you to tell your journey again, which because it is, but
remember, this is episode number 1. Like,
yeah, true.
Remember, the listeners have not heard a thing.
But I was going to start of going a little bit of what you do in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yep.
But what are some of the common things that are coming up when it's coming to healing or personal growth? These barriers that are stopping us growing. What are some of the common things that are coming up with your clients that you work with? What are the age groups, male, female, a little bit about them, and then I really want to try and bring it together of like some of the practices. I want to give the listeners some take homes,
something really practical.
Something they could dip their toes in.
Okay.
And obviously understand a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my intentions anyway, man. It could go anyway.
Yeah.
But
I mean, were they direct questions? Because I think I have them all. I think I'm all tabbed up.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start with what are some of the common things that come up in your practices? A little bit about what it is you do as well, man. You know, just to get the juices flowing.
That's it. Well, I'm a holistic coach and breakthrough facilitator. That's how I kind of define who I am and what I do. I mean, esoterically, we're all, souls and one with God, and, but the reality is I'm a holistic coach. I've been in the healing arts now for quite some time, in the health industry for quite some time. I lost my part of my journey, which I'm sure we'll explore at some level today, is losing that to the point of near-death experience and having a lot of chronic health issues. So that's what really inspired my pathway. And the breakthrough part was also really learning my internal landscape, because I joke sometimes that I used to have the emotional spectrum of a toothbrush. So learning how your energy, your emotions, and our perceptions perturb us and shape our reality, can shape the way that we see ourselves, our sense of self, our self-worth, our belief in ourselves, or lack thereof. And so that was a really powerful component and really eye-opening and very insightful experience and journey to come to know myself more deeply and to catalyze the healing process. Because prior to that, it was very nutrition, fasting, supplements, herbs, all the things that are amazing. There was kind of that quote-unquote missing component. Bit of a scratchy throat this morning. So that was a really, really powerful add-on addition. So that's what I do in a nutshell. I help people in a holistic sense, really looking at the true nature of the mind, body, spirit connection. And then the breakthrough facilitated part is using, most specifically today, the Demartini Method, which, as we get in today, and for your listeners, is a series of questions that help you become conscious of what you're unconscious of. So you become fully conscious, fully aware, so access the superconscious state, have a clear mind, access deeper levels of presence and certainty within yourself, experience deeper levels of love and gratitude, true love and gratitude, because there's sometimes a bit of a confusion with what true love is, and to be inspired and to be enthusiastic about life, to really feel this awakening within yourself and have your, soul ignited and feel like you're not just living, but you're actually alive and not just walking through life, through the motions, but really feel like you're living something meaningful and deeply connected to the privacy of your heart.
Yeah.
So that whole breakthrough facilitator part is really helping people become inspired and really aligned to the privacy there in their heart, which is what their set of values are. We'll go into that a bit later on. Because every human being has a set of values. Every human being has come to this earth with something they're dedicated to, and that can change over time. So that's really, truly meaningful and inspiring and important. And I think we all go through life with that set of values, wanting to feel capable and confident. We just want to feel like we belong. We're connected to something greater than ourselves. We want to feel capable in our abilities. We want to feel authentic within ourselves and in our relationships. And in that state, we have beautiful intimacy and connection and relating. And we get to dance through the mystery of life with other people and all these connections that we create. But ultimately, I think people just want to feel capable and confident in themselves, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. I guess, so much come up for me just in hearing all that, like you talk about values and you talk about self-love and things. And I guess, if we're going to have a first practice for someone at home, because even that can be like, where do you start with your values, your self-worth, and even when you start to understand it or start seeing it in yourself, or the universe is shining light on it saying, you need more self-love. Like, it's like, where do you go with it, man?
Cool. Well, to repeat that, every human being has a set. That's the cool thing. Let's just start there. Because some people think like, what's my purpose? And there's that confusion, right? I'm sure we've all had that experience in life where we think like, what's my purpose? And I don't really know who I am. Sometimes an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And again, that's that sense of belonging and kind of having certainty in ourselves. But the cool thing is you can't mess it up because your life demonstrates it. And people think that, and I used to think too, that values were social ideals like, integrity and honesty. And they're traits that we display, but we also have the opposite because sometimes we're disintegral or we're dishonest. We have the shadow, which is our other side. Which is funny because to love yourself is to embrace both your sides. That's why some people struggle to love themselves because they like one part of themselves. They're trying to get rid of other parts of themselves.
Yeah.
And this is a classic Jungian philosophy, which you said the shadow follows. Because anything you condemn, you breed, attract, or become.
Yeah.
You'll breed it in your offspring, you'll attract it into your life, or you become it within yourself to love that part. So you love and embrace all parts of you.
Yeah.
So every human being has a set. Your life demonstrates it. And we all have varying degrees of fantasies of what we think we want our life to be versus what it actually is, and to actually honor the magnificence of who we are. There's that so-called Einstein quote. I'm not sure if he actually said it or not, but it's that classic one of, if you're a cat trying to swim like a fish, you're going to go through your whole life and beat yourself up and want to change and fix yourself. Yeah. And if you're the fish trying to climb a tree like a cat, you're going to go through life thinking there's something wrong with you and have low self-worth and beat yourself up.
Yeah.
So any one of us would think that's insane. An elephant trying to be a giraffe, that's insane. Just an elephant's an elephant. And we are us, which is our expression of our values. And our purpose becomes the expression of our highest values. So it's giving ourselves the biggest goddamn permission slip to go after that, to really honor our set of values and who we are and what we're dedicated to. Because we have what's called the law of contrast. I'll look at Dave and I'll look at Nathan, I'll look at everyone in the world and think, oh shit, maybe I should be doing that. And maybe I should be doing that. And so-and-so's doing that, doing really good for themselves. So maybe I should do more of that. And we kind of lose ourselves and fragment ourselves and inject and inculcate and have other people's expectations of us sort of like kind of infiltrate our own clarity. And that's where the big confusion comes. It's not that people actually don't deep down know who they are. They just forget.
Yeah.
And so often a lot of the things that I do is not teach people and add. It's kind of subtracting and kind of reawakening and helping them gain clarity and return back to themselves because they already fundamentally deep down know who they are. Yeah. They actually already know what they're dedicated to. So it's that kind of remembrance, the reminding, the return to, the resting back, the deepening.
So what is the message in that, in the way of these parts of us that we don't like? So insecurities, I don't know, lazy, like these parts, because it's the yin and the yang, and that's how.
Well, just to jump in, those are more labels that we label ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm lazy, I'm a procrastinator, I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
No one's inherently one of those or the other things. Yeah. We're designed to be most disciplined, reliable, and focused and certain in our highest values.
Well, what's a good example? I mean, because what I'm trying to get to is like, we love to focus on all the great things that we are, but that self-worth of like sometimes we try to suppress or hide or push away or avoid all these areas of us, or like rather than, because what I'm hearing is that we need to love that messy part of us. We need to love that. I don't know, the ugly side sometimes. You know what I mean?
There's two things going to what you're saying. One is in reference to the values, and one is in reference to our two-sided nature. In your highest values, you're going to have the most amount of certainty, reliability, discipline, focus, attention, intention. That's normal. But if you go down the values, you will have the opposite, where you have laziness and hesitate, procrastinate, and frustrate. That's letting you know, that's all the symptomology of letting you know that's you not on purpose or not in priority. You're not doing the most important things. So I'll give you a quick example to kind of clear that up. I'm sure you've had a day where you've had a free schedule, you've not really planned anything, you've kind of let just things like life kind of go by. And I'm just going to go with the flow. And if you don't prioritize your day, nature prioritizes it for you. So other people's expectations, you're all of a sudden doing random shit and just your day fills up with chaos. And you finish your day, you go, fuck, where'd the day go? And just had random shells putting out fires all day and it just felt like chaos. So if you don't prioritize your life, nature does it for you. And in that state, you're going to feel unfulfilled, you're going to feel empty, have lowered self-worth, less self-confidence, et cetera, et cetera. But if you prioritize your day, and I'm sure you've had another one of these ones too, the opposite, where you prioritize yourself, you value yourself, you really stick to priority, and you get the things done that are most important to you, you finish the day on top of the world.
Yeah.
You feel inspired, you feel fulfilled, you feel grateful, you feel like you have resilience and adaptability. The house could be burning down and you're like, I've got it, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, but if you don't do that, then, you know, you're an absolute dinosaur. You're like a wet rag. You've got no resilience, no adaptability, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the take home there. There's much I could say on that, but if you don't prioritize your life and your day, then nature will do it for you. And instead of, you know, you prioritizing something that's inspiring, and you go after challenges that, you know, really help you grow, it'll fill up with things that are kind of de-inspiring, and it's going to feel like they break you down. And that's sort of to do with the kind of the law of entropy and syntropy or negentropy. And that's just essentially, are you prioritizing your life? Are you ensuring that your set of values, you are like a train on a train track, you're congruent and you're aligned with what's most meaningful to you?
Yeah. And what does this look like? So I'm trying to give all the take homes here for the listeners, right? So is this every night or every morning sitting still a little bit and just writing 3 goals or things you want to achieve for the day? How does it look?
Totally.
With your coaching?
If you're newer to this work, just observe yourself, introspect, reflect on what you're actually noticing that you're doing in a day. Because there's going to be certain activities that your energy goes up. There's going to be certain activities where you feel more attention focused. You can hold your attention for a longer period of time. There's things you can do where it's easy to say no, which is where your discipline is. So monitor the things you do in a day where you notice you really feel like yourself, your energy's going up, you're more focused, you're more attentive, you're more resilient, you're more adaptable, you're more disciplined. That's going to be you.
And are you saying like lean into
try to do more of those things? Yeah. And then the idea is to delegate the low priority things, or if something you believe is important, but you notice you keep procrastinating, you keep hesitating, you keep frustrating, you can't sit still for more than 5 minutes doing it. Why is it just honor? That's not really me. It's not the most important thing. But if you do think it's important, you've got to ask what really is the most important thing. And then you've got to be able to see that how is that, because it's a means to an end. The lower values are what's called a means to an end. They're serving the highest value, which is the Greek sometimes called it the telos. Sometimes known as the chief aim, the North Star. All it really is just the most meaningful thing to you. The thing you care most about. If you're a mother or a father and your highest value is children, you care most about your children. So everything else is a means to an end to raise beautiful children. If your highest value is entrepreneurship, then everything else below that is a means to an end. There's not anyone knows in entrepreneurship, you've got to wear about 36 caps. That's why, but no one is designed to do 36 roles. So there's going to be things in the business that aren't important, aren't priority. You're going to end up procrastinating, hesitating, frustrating. So it's wise to either link those things or delegate them out. I'll give you a great example of my mum, because I was reflecting on this the other day. She said, when I was 8 years old, I knew I was born to be a mum. And because her brother came home from the hospital, her mum, so my grandma, brought her brother home. And she said something happened to me. Mum came through the door with her brother, and she just knew that day I was born to be a mum. So she's dedicated the rest of her life to raising beautiful children. That's my 2 brothers.
Yep.
And so she loved everything about being a mum, everything you can imagine, except the ironing and the washing.
Yeah,
just be mountains.
Yeah.
So, just then, even if the washing got done, then those mountains of clothes to be ironed. But she did this beautiful thing called paper towel. And looking back now, I appreciate far more now than I did at the time. But she would basically get multiple copies of images, and they'd be almost like scaled. And then she'd cut out certain bits and kind of 3D layer them. They were beautiful. And she'd frame them. They just look amazing. Some went up in the house, but some she sold. And anytime she had a bit of like spare cash type thing, she would delegate it to a lady who loved ironing and washing. So she kind of learned out in the way that would offset the cost. And then she was re-inspired to do more things that she loved for us boys.
Yeah.
Things she actually cared about. So it's just sometimes being a case of being resourceful, because sometimes you think, well, you need to have heaps of money and millions of dollars. You don't necessarily. You can be resourceful, because sometimes you have a skill that you love doing. Someone has a skill that they love doing. You guys can swap. Sometimes there's more money you can make by doing what you love, and then you would pay the offset cost of the thing that you care less about.
Yeah.
Because those are the energy drainers. There's a great expression that says you're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired or exhausted because you're not doing enough of the things that light you up, which is your highest values.
Yeah.
Because in that state, you have access to what I call the Jesus juice.
So what about with things like, things that you can't offset to other people to do, like, for instance, I mean, I love going to the gym, but there's some people that it's like fucking torture. They just can't get themselves there. So,
well, this comes back to, let me just jump in. This comes back to what I was saying. We all have varying degrees of fantasies in our head that aren't really truly meaningful. Warren Buffett is worth $350 billion. He eats McDonald's every day. He doesn't care about eating healthy food.
Yeah.
So, but if he's subordinated to all the fit influencers on Instagram going, you should be eating healthy and you need to be going to the gym, he's going to inject that and then feel morally in conflict going, well, so-and-so said that I should be doing this. And that's the real key giveaway.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to notice that when you're in a disempowered state and you've got people above you thinking they're better than you and their values are more important than your own, that's when we do what's called an injection of values or an inculcation of values. We allow them to supersede our own, and that's what clouds the clarity. And you'll know this because you'll wake up and say things like, oh, I should be meditating today. I'm supposed to be going to the gym. I need to eat healthy. And all of that is a powerful feedback tool to let you know where that's not actually you speaking. It's another voice in your head. It's an authority you put above you to let you know that ain't you speaking. Because when we're actually inspired from within and we're what's called intrinsically driven, which means it comes from you, it comes from within us. Yeah,
without thinking about it.
Without thinking about it. That's exactly right. Yeah. You spontaneously act upon it, which will be the highest value. You'll say things like, I want to, I like to, I choose to, I am doing, and the highest value, which is I love to. Like I love to coach and facilitate and teach. You can do it all day long because that's me. That's the thing where I spontaneously act. There's no thinking. There's no need. No one needs to ring me up and go, hey man, I need to motivate you today. Just do that coaching thing. And just do it. Same as you, same as Nate, same as every listener. There's something really, really deeply meaningful where you just spontaneously act.
Yeah.
That's you. Yeah. That's the authentic self. That's where you have the most energy, the most authenticity, the most self-worth.
So what are you saying that like, I love what you're saying, by the way. It's very
there's lots of parts we've kind of opened up. There's lots of tie-ins that we can do and totally,
Yeah. But, I guess with things like health or exercise and eating good, Ryan Buffett eating McDonald's every day is probably something you wouldn't recommend. But are you just saying that it's an even lower vibration or is it more toxic to yourself, be putting all this pressure on yourself than actually eating bad food? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he talks about that. I'm just Warren Buffett is one example, but he talks about the tap dance to work energy. When you're doing what you really, really love, you're going to be inspired. That's the most healing, healthy thing to be. I know plenty of people that eat a great diet and they're miserable as shit because they're not living by priority. So are they more unhealthy than Warren Buffett? Because man, that dude's in his 90s. I mean, he has gone downhill since Charlie Munger died, so he's definitely had some emotional stuff, but the dude's like late 90s and he's still kicking. He's still very sharp. Yeah. Some people are in their 80s. They've eaten healthy their whole life. Now, am I saying everyone can go out and eat McDonald's now? No. Is it wise to eat healthy whole foods and meet your nutrient requirements? Of course. Yeah. What I'm trying to get at, and the real take home here is that if we are subordinate and we're making it an absolute necessity because my Instagram influencer said you need to be eating kale. You must eat carnivore. You need to be eating fruit. Eggs are good. Eggs are bad. It becomes noise in the brain because we're not actually truly doing something from our own place of, yes, listen to these people and the experts, but then take it upon yourself to make it your own. Yeah. I've read a lot of nutrition books. My background's nutritional sciences, and the number one thing that's helped me the most is just find what works for me. Yeah. I like that, man. There's some foundations, but at the end of the day, and you've listened to probably do the same thing, the amount of pressure that it's like a breath of fresh air. Just do you. Find what works for you. Find out when you eat a certain food, how does it digest? How does it make you feel? Can you handle high amounts of sugar because you have great glucose tolerance, or you know better with carbs and fats and protein? Just find what works for you. Do you? So then you know that I'm eating this way for me, not because Andrew Huberman told me to. Because it is right. It can get noisy, man. And
you know, and from our last conversation, you know, like I wanted to go into the juice detoxes because there's something that you mentioned in that, because for someone that knows fuck all about juice detoxes, yes, we know it's good for us, and you know there's obviously some benefits in it, and it's a good cleanse, and you know, but we've all got different, I guess, levels of knowledge around the detoxes and the juices and what to do. But the overall arching thing is it can be fucking overwhelming.
Totally.
Like where do you start? Okay, you put kale in this one, you have this one at this time, and this one before you go to bed, and fucking when to have it, how long do you do it for? But one thing that I got from our last conversation was very much like, you know, there is no real right or wrong way of doing it. I mean, if you're feeling absolutely good about having one fucking apple juice in the morning, that's still better than doing a full detox program. Well, I don't know. Is that what you're sort of saying? Like it's about just feeling good about what you're actually doing.
Yeah, and like if we're closing off that conversation about, I mean, again, you could have, there are people I'm inspired by. I'm sure there's people you're inspired by, people we look up to that we want to receive information from. So there's no issue with that. That's, of course, how we learn. The reason I'm here today and know what I know and continue to learn is because I learned from great teachers. But if you're having that glass of apple juice in the morning going, one teacher said that's really good for me because it's got electrolytes and it's got, you know, live enzymes and functional this and you know, structured water. But then you've got another voice going, oh, it's too much sugar. Yeah. You're going to spike your insulin. Now bad. You're going to have an internal conflict and think, oh, is the juice good or bad? I'm doing the right or the wrong thing. And then you create these volatilities in the brain and then the nervous system, because now you're in a moral conflict of who should I listen to? Yeah. So you're kind of in this like more subordinate, self-devalued position. You've got these authorities above you, one saying one thing, one contradicts that. Now what do? Fuck, stress. And that can be across, you know, I'm sure your listeners have even just take that example on anything, you know, you should do this in relationships, but no, you should do this. And then you're an internal, and all that noise is the internal conflicts of the authorities we put above us. So researching, of course, research, but anyone knows that when you research things, you're going to find conflicting things. There's this thing called the law of heuristic escalation, where anytime you impose a value into the world, usually an equal and opposite shows up to counteract it and keep it in check. Yep. That's why you have pro-life, pro-abortion. Pro-abortion, pro-life, yeah. Or you have, you know, liberal and Labor. You have Republican and Democrats. You have, you know, vaccine, anti-vaccine. You're going to have a dialogue or a dialectic, two trains of thoughts on things. And so that's normal and common. But the reality is that, and to empower yourself is find out what works for you. Yeah. I think it was Bruce Lee that said, take on what's useful, reject what's useless, and do what the rest that you will, which is essentially empower yourself.
So what does that look like? Another take home. Okay. So we're having this monkey mind, these conflict of, you know, thoughts that are coming through.
Let's just say your teacher has said meditation's good for you. Yeah. And you really admire them and you think you should be meditating. It's wiser to find out what you value most. Let's just say it's your children or business, because let's just use two common examples. And then ask the question, how is meditation going to make me an incredible parent to my beautiful baby boy and girl or children? Or how is meditation going to serve me as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur? You have to see how it's important to you, which means you're now taking it on for yourself. Sure. Going to the gym. If, like you said before, people are torturing themselves because they think they should be going to the gym and they think they should be lifting weights and they think they should be doing CrossFit because their favorite influencer said it, ask the question, how specifically would going to the gym make me a more incredible, powerful role model for my children? Or a more powerful leader and, you know, fit, healthy and well for my business, because that's all you care about. When we perceive the world through sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, the senses, and mostly the visual, because that's the predominant one, right? You're filtering the world through your set of values. We have what's called a gating system in the brain, kind of where like the hypothalamus is. It's like a gating system. I joke, you know, with the Lord of the Rings and Gandalf, he's like, you shall not pass. You know that one? That's kind of the gating system we have in the brain, right? Which is, it's only letting in the things you give a shit about and it's filtering out the things you don't give a shit about. So let's say, for example, I walk into Karrinyup Shopping Centre and then a mum walks into Karrinyup Shopping Centre and then a tennis player walks into a Karrinyup Shopping Centre. We're all filtering for different things.
A child walks in there.
A child walks in. They're going to be looking for the play store. Mum's looking for the children's things. Tennis player's looking for the sports store. I'm looking for probably, I don't know what I look for. Probably a bit of everything. Bit of a mixed bag. So we're all filtering our reality through our own set of values. And the take home there is that there's one world, but 8 billion versions, right? So that comes back into this conversation and kind of circumventing is, if you believe something's going to serve you, Ask how it's going to serve you. If you've learned it from an authority, you've learned it from a teacher, make it your own so that now you see how it's serving your set of values. You're not trying to please them. Yep. So anytime you have an authority, you tend to play small, you inject their values. Now you'll say what you think they want to hear to please them. You're going to try and do, who knows that when you get highly attracted to someone, you do weird shit. You temporarily sacrifice yourself to try to be like them, to be close to them, because now you have a fear of loss of them.
Yeah.
That's the attachments and the infatuations we create in our mind. And the same is true when we resent people, we look down on them, we think we're better than them. We now want to sacrifice them for us. That's why we want to fix and change them. Both are futile.
Man, let's get into relationships after this one, but
totally.
Yeah.
But both are futile because the reality is that everyone is dedicated to the fulfillment of their own values. You can't be dedicated to someone else's and they can't be dedicated to yours.
Yep.
So that's a waste of time. Anyone knows in a relationship, just to kind of precede this one, that's trying to change your partner, good luck.
Yeah, I know. So with, and we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah,
fucking good one. But so just going back to the values side of it, and from what I'm hearing is that you have to be very clear about what your values are. But you're saying that they're already set in us.
That's the great thing. You can't mess it up.
So another take home.
So the take home is go reflect.
Yeah.
As if there was a drone above your head.
Yep.
Following you around, and if your life was recorded for a week, then just go look at it and just reflect. There's we have the capacity. We have reflective awareness. We're kind of really the only creatures to a degree, because dolphins and some other animals where there's definitely evidence to show that they have reflective awareness. But we definitely have it to the highest degree. There's no question. So we can see ourselves in nature. We can see and observe ourselves, and that's the role with the take home here. The practical thing is what's my life demonstrate? Imagine there's a drone above your head following you around for a week, and write down everything you do in a day over that week. Because some days you might have different dedicated things, even though the value system is still, but a week's a great time frame. Write it all down. What are the common themes? What do you spend your money on? What do you focus your time and dedicate your time to?
Yeah.
What's in your space? Because you gravitate the things you're important to, you radiate the things you don't give a shit about. That's why they end up in the attic with dust, right? So if you're a photographer, you likely have a camera around your neck. If you're a mother, you likely have a child. If you're a jewelist, you'll have jewelry all over you. If you're a, clothes producer, you probably have some sheets of cotton over you or something. You're going to gravitate in the things that are important. You choose your phone. That's a common one for people, but what do you do on it? What is most important on this device? I don't value my phone. Well, it's coaching and facilitating because I'm talking to prospects and clients. So there's something that you're continually doing that if you reflect on that week, you'll realize they're the common threads and the common themes. Make note of that because that's you.
Yeah.
The big one's also the energy.
Yeah, because
there's lots of determinants, but I'm just going to make it practical. There's lots of determinants, but lots of energy, your time, your money, where's your focus go? What do you love to talk about? Right? All those indicators. There's many I could go through, but the main ones are what gives you energy? What do you focus your time on? What do you spend your money on? What do you love to talk about?
Yeah.
And then go to things like what do you think about? What do you visualize? What do you make consistent goals? What inspires you? There's common threads and common themes, and this is really, really important because your life demonstrates what you value, number one.
Yeah.
Who you are is an expression of your values. Your self-worth goes up when you live by your highest values. It goes down when you try to live by other people's values and you don't know who you are. Your ontological identity, which means who you actually define yourself as, pretty fucking important, revolves around your highest value.
Yeah.
Because if you said Mitch the mechanic, I'd be like, that's not me. Mitch the footy player, not me. Mitch the teacher, coach, facilitator, that's me.
Yeah.
And if you go, when you walk into an elevator with someone, you go, hey, who are you? And if your highest value is entrepreneurship, you'll say, I'm an entrepreneur. If it's singing, I'm a singer. If it's dancing, I'm a dancer. If I'm a parent, I'm a mother or a father.
Yep.
Your whole essence of who you are, which is called your ontological identity, revolves around your highest value.
So when you're talking about values, we're automatically thinking value being like a positive, like the higher things that you love.
Now, I wouldn't say a positive necessarily, but what's most fulfilling, because you can have the positive and the negative within
when you're
that, right?
saying like someone like, you got a camera on you throughout your day. What say if the most regular things that are coming up about themselves is like working, you're unhappy, like all these, like going to the pub, drinking every night, some negatives, I guess, like, so you've just seen this, and it's probably a good task to do, to actually go, fuck, this is where I'm spending all my time on my screen. I don't know, fucking porn, I don't know, like, or even things you're not enjoying, I don't know, like, whatever it may be. So when and I'm not, we can't look at that as our values.
You can.
Well, you can. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So can you explain that? Because there's obviously that negative side of it as well.
There's a nuance and a context. So let me break that down. First of all, let's describe psychology 101 based on how the brain works and then our actions execute. We're continually making choices moment by moment. So psychology 101 is this. Every human being, you, me, Nath, everyone listening, moment by moment, we're basically making decisions and weighing up what's going to give us more advantage than disadvantage, more reward over risk, more positive over negative, more pleasure over pain to our highest values. So that's a common one, especially fly-in fly-out workers. It's the common FIFO. I'm at this job and it's, kicking my ass and this and this and this. Now, there's a few things here. That's why I want to add the context and nuance. First of all, they're probably comparing their life to a fantasy because they want a pleasure without a pain. So when they have both, then now they're torturing themselves because life's not meeting their expectations and they're depressed. So that's one part. The other thing is that they are living by their values because some people may actually love their jobs. I know people on mine, so they go, I love what I do. I love being a truck driver. I love being an engineer. I love being this. So there are actually people who really love being there. But someone might have a value on financial security. And so they're willing to go away for 2 weeks because it actually fulfills their value of financial security.
Yeah.
So if they're expecting themselves and they're looking at the people who love their jobs there and then they go, what's wrong with me? I don't love being here. They're not clear that their intention and the reason that they're there is financial security.
I like that.
And if they were to honor that, then they'd be more at quote unquote peace with themselves, which is really them appreciating why they're actually there.
Yeah.
Then they become more inspired because now they see why they're actually no one had a gun to their head.
No.
They chose to go there. Now they might have thought because of the government and the conditions and the cost of living. I'm not negating that. Life has stresses for sure. But the reality is you chose that and that was the greatest advantage of a disadvantage that you perceived in your mind. So you didn't do that for no reason. Now the other thing is like they say the drinking thing. Well, if you are subordinate, there's a couple of things here. If you have people above you that you're kind of attached to and you fear the loss of them, you may sacrifice yourself. You may not want to drink, but then you go drink because what you value is the people there and you've kind of devalued your connection. That could be a value. And you may have, sacrificed yourself for them to try and please them out of fear of loss of them. There could be some of that going on there. But the reality is you still thought that was the most advantageous thing to do for you. That's why when I work with quote unquote addicts, that's what I call a fancy label. But at the end of the day, it's a strategy to get what you want. The first thing I ask is, what's the benefit you're getting out of the drinking, the smoking, the porn, the whatever pot? Because you wouldn't be doing it unless you were getting some advantage. So let's just go get out on the table.
What's coming up there?
Your unconscious motives, I work with a lady who had been drinking for years. Beautiful, beautiful lady. I still work with her today. She's amazing. She had been drinking, I'm probably going to butcher this, but something like 15, 20 years, long time. And naturally been to, AA maybe and psychologists and done heaps of healing things. And we sat down and I said, come to my place. Let's sort this out. 6 hours, she was done. Bang. Because we got to the core issue. At first, when I say, okay, what's the first obvious question? When did you start drinking? When did she start reaching for the bottle and that becoming a strategy to get what she needed? What was the advantage there? And it was when her brother had committed suicide. So naturally in my head, I thought, okay, well, let's go through the grief process to help her process and alchemize the grief back into love for her brother committing suicide. I got halfway and I just noticed there wasn't that shift because I attune. I know when people are shifting. You can feel it. It's palpable when you feel people. And she wasn't making the shift. So I'm thinking, fuck, okay, something's up here. There's got to be something else. And I just asked her a few questions. And eventually she went blood red. I asked the right question. I pushed a button. And this was the middle of winter. She had to take her jumper off. She was hot. She went, oof. I said, what's that? Because now we got the real issue. She said, I resent my brother because when he killed himself, he dumped everything on me. That was the issue. And she couldn't admit that because her brother committed suicide. She was supposed to feel sorry for him. And, it was a tragedy, but really she was repressing how she felt, which is that she felt like he was dumping all the responsibility on her, the business, the kids, the whatever she had to deal with. And she couldn't express that. So she felt trapped and the alcohol became the strategy to soothe her pain. Because think about how many times we have a quote unquote addictive behavior. We shame ourselves for it. We think it's a terrible thing. I'm not into making people feel terrible or amazing about their decisions. I want them to help them understand and appreciate why they do it.
Yeah.
What's the dynamic? What are your unconscious motives? What are you getting out of it? Then there's a greater understanding. Now you're fully conscious of your motives. You've taken all your unconscious motives. You're now conscious of them. And then we worked on that and she hasn't drunk a day since.
Yeah.
Because the strategy is no longer needed.
Yeah.
So I hope does that help with all the values and the choices and
100, man. And I guess with the values, another thing that I'm picking up in there is your purpose, is your why as well. It's sort of similar, isn't it? You talk about being a father or a mother. It's what lights you up.
That's it.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting? This is actually quite a hilarious one. I commonly work with mums and entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, any form of that, solopreneur, entrepreneur, that kind of thing. and then parents. And their highest value is that, to be a mum or a dad or to be a business owner. And I get the business owners who have friends who are mums and dads comparing their highest value to thinking I should be a mum or a dad. And then I get the mums and the dads going, I think I should have a business. And so it's that catfish thing again.
Man.
And so they're actually just not honoring themselves.
Yeah.
And especially the mums, because what happens sometimes is mums have kids. And that's just more typical than the fathers have. But mums have kids and their kids are actually 2 or 3. It doesn't mean they don't love their children. It just means that inherently and truly children are not their highest values. Unlike, say, my mum, because that was just clear as shit. What's actually true is they're still dedicated to their career or their business or their charity or their whatever it is.
Yeah.
And their kids are 2 or 3, but they torture themselves because other moms that they look at, they've now injected the number 1 child as the value, and they now think there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And they beat themselves up thinking I'm not a good mum
or
a dad.
Expectation of
the expectation.
Yeah.
The expectation we have of ourselves to be something we're not.
And we see it in society, man. I mean, the government plays a big part of this, and it's like everyone's out. They got to get a house. Got to.
The Aussie dream.
Yeah, I got to go and put myself into debt, pay ridiculous amounts of interest just to get that home, and then they're in the home. And I get the whole family home thing, and own your own home, maybe investments and grow it and everything else. But I do find a lot that people are just doing it because it's been programmed into them. Like that's what they got to do next. Like
that's again a subordinate.
Got to get married. Got to have a kid.
Keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
There are people who love doing that.
Which there's nothing wrong with it, by the way.
That's what I mean. I'm not making it right or wrong. There are people who love buying. I know I've got friends who bought a home and are raising a family. That's what they love.
Yeah.
But then there are people who think they have to do that to keep up with the Joneses type thing.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the subordination, or the government's telling me to do it and I should be doing that. And that's not really you really empowering yourself to the greatest degree. What's really interesting, again, is you still can't mess it up, because no matter what, you're still filtering life through your value system. And maybe this is probably more the practical way that I teach this and kind of explain it. You're always living by your values, which means you're always driving your car. The question is how high is the handbrake?
Yeah.
Because the handbrake being pulled up is every injected value of I think I need to, I should be, I'm supposed to, I have to, I need to, I must be. How high are you pulling that up? Because you're still driving, but how much you're holding yourself back.
Is that handbrake, if I'm reading between the lines here, is that handbrake with the true honesty with yourself and allowing to let go and just being very clear about what you're, because sometimes like if you're trying to be a dad because you're trying to keep up the Joneses, or the wife said, but when really, you're more focused on being a business, an entrepreneur, or, a professional golfer or whatever it may be. What does a father do in that situation to say, you know what, these are my values over my children? Yeah. Because that's quite heavy to say.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Here's what's ironic. If he actually honors himself, what is he modeling to his children?
Yeah.
To love and appreciate who he is, his authentic self. Now, here's the kicker. If he does that, he's freed. All that compression and tension and energy is now freed up to focus on doing what he loves. So he gets the win and he feels on fire and authentic and loves himself. And then paradoxically, when he does spend time with his children, because he's not in internal conflict, he's present.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, what would you rather spend, an hour present with your children or 6 hours dissociating in your fantasies when you're not even there? Yeah. And that's a big thing I work with. Women going, I feel like I'm there in my family, but I feel alone. I'm there in my family, but I feel disconnected. Yeah. So it's not, because we think I've got to spend more time. That's usually again all the scurrying. I need to. If the golfer was to honor the fact that they were born to be a great golfer, then I guarantee when he's fulfilled, he goes home feeling full, alive, appreciative, grateful, loving, resilient, adaptable, and probably can't wait to pour his love into his children and his wife and the family. Yeah. But if he's playing golf with noise in his head, I should be at home, with the kids, and I should be doing this, because he's got the conflict from other people that are trying to put, their expectations on him, then he's going to feel unfulfilled, unresilient, unadaptable, and only giving half, not present. And then, you're trying to pour into a cup from empty, just drips.
They do this. With a men, they do a workshop in the men's workshop, and part of the workshop is that they get all the men to write down from number 1 to number 10 or whatever it is, what are the most important things in their life. And a lot of them are going, my children, my wife, the house, the job. And then somewhere down the list, they're going myself or my health or my, something to do with themselves. And then part of the process is then you share it all. And it's very rare that a man would go and put himself at the top. But
well, that's not a true value. You can't really put yourself. That's probably they just haven't done a clear exercise because it's what are you doing that yourself is.
The point that they're trying to get across is that exactly the same as what you're saying. It's because like if you're putting yourself first, going out and playing golf or all these things are your values. Because if you're at number 5, you're only giving all your kids, your wife and everything above you the 5th best version of yourself. Or if you're putting yourself first and you're feeling fulfilled and energetic and present and all that, then you're giving that to all the people that you love underneath it.
Yeah. There's
I don't know if I explained that right.
No, I get what you're saying in that exercise. I would just submit they're probably not going about it in a way that's makes things really, really clear. That could be a little bit confusing because the reality is you are living by your values, but the confusion is I should be doing something else. And sometimes people write that down.
Yeah.
When I do the values exercise, the first instruction I say is, everyone just take a breath. You're about to do an exercise. If you do it congruently, as if the drone with the camera was following you around, you're going to do it great. If you write down bullshit and all the fantasies that are in your head that you think you should be doing, you're going to stuff the exercise up.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in what people think they should be doing. Think about this. You walk into a room with 100 people and I give 2 classic examples. You ask everyone the first question, who wants to have a fit, healthy, sexy, attractive body? Almost every hand goes up. Now, who here has a fit, healthy, sexy, attractive body? Half the hands go down. Because they have the fantasy of that, but they're not willing to dedicate the time in the gym or the CrossFit or the exercise or just walks in the park or the yoga, I don't care what it is, to show that they actually have a true value on it. And again, we'll just speak about something that's actually practical for people that may be a little bit overweight or want a more attractive body. There's a very practical and science to value changing. The other one's financial independence. You ask who wants to be financially independent. Every hand goes up. Who is financially independent? Most hands go down. Why? Because they're not actually showing that their life's dedicated to learning about macroeconomics and the global markets and investing and appreciating assets. It's not that difficult. Wall Street would have you believe that becoming a millionaire is very difficult. It's not. It's just that most people want to get a get-rich-quick scheme and I want to have $1 million overnight, and they're not willing to be patient with slow, methodical investing, learning the basics. You don't have to be incredibly smart. Tony Robbins showed in his book, Money Master the Game, that even someone on a paycheck could become a multimillionaire if they just invested in the hedging the bet against the market, which is usually the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, and just have a forced automatic savings, continually stretch yourself little bit by little bit to save and save and save and put that portion and value yourself to let money work for you.
Yeah.
So it's just that people don't give themselves the permission to value themselves and value money and show that they have an actual, tangible, realistic and objective goal of becoming financially independent or a tangible, real, objective outcome of getting a fit, healthy, strong, attractive, sexy body. If it was important, they would do it. And women know this mostly. I'd say men too, but definitely women when they have a wedding. You ever seen a woman 12 weeks before a wedding?
Yeah.
When that becomes the most important thing?
The gym 3
She's at the
times
fucking
a week,
gym 3 a.m. And they'll tell you this. And then the night of the wedding, they'll then just like, oh, well, I'm done now, you know. And that's fine. But that's showing you that they had a realistic because that was important to them. It's not that the gym was important. It's that special day was important. And they would move a mountain for that. Ask a man anything that's important to him. He will move a fucking, excuse my French, a fucking mountain to make that thing happen. Everyone has it inside of them. And that's showing you that's what you actually really care about. I was having a joke the other day. I said, I used to have this fantasy about being an actor, like Hollywood actor, like an Iron Man or like, you know, a Thor or like some, you know, Neo from the Matrix, I think. But that was all fantasies. None of my life showed that I was going to acting school and ring out plays. That was just a cute little whim. You know? So we all have varying degrees of fantasies going on, but that's where it ends. It starts and ends in the brain. You're not taking a conceptual idea, something that's inspiring and crystallizing it in reality and showing that you're actually truly dedicated to that. That's why I say, put the drone above your head. And if I was a private investigator and you wrote down what your values were, that you would have no insecurities about me coming in to see that your life is congruent with what you wrote down. That's it. Because if you write down bullshit, you're going to have an anxiety going, well, that's not really me. And then the question becomes, well, then who is it? So that's I hope that lands in terms of we all have fantasies of what we think we should be writing down. But I'm not interested in that. I want to know what you're actually dedicated to so you can honor the magnificence of you, honor your authentic sole purpose of why you came to the planet. Because if it's to raise a beautiful family on a farm, more power to. If it's to create a great taxi service, more power to. If it's to open a business, more power to. If it's to run a dancing school, more power to. It doesn't matter what it is. There's no universal value, right and wrong, good and bad. It's yours. And the big question, because you kind of said it before, was yes, the handbrake thing is giving yourself the goddamn permission slip to cut out the noise and honor yourself. So actually, ironically, everyone gets the best deal.
And so giving yourself the permission slip, I like that. being truthful about what it is, your purpose, your value. So therefore, I mean, once you know it, do you need to be writing it down anywhere? Do you need to put it on your mirror? Or
Well, yes and no, because I would say yes, actually, more than no, because
and obviously talking to your partner about it,
totally
re-explaining to people in your workplace, saying, "Hey, look, this is."
Are you the same human being as you were at 6 years old and dedicated to the same things?
Yeah, nah.
Do you value the same things you did at 12 years old?
Sometimes, no.
Some potentially.
Yeah.
Do you value the same things at 18?
Nah. Yeah.
Okay. So that permission slip is also the recognition that you're a transient, meaning a temporary, evolving being.
Yeah.
How many times we get into a relationship and we say, I know my partner. We put him in a box.
Yeah.
And I say, the moment you do that, you're fucked. Your relationship, you're going to start eroding the intimacy and think you know them, think you know better than them. And that's who they are. You put a label and a badge on them. We do the same thing for ourselves. So the reality is yes, values can change over time. What you value today is likely not what you valued 10 years ago. It may be. There's some people that know what they want to do at 10 and then they dedicate their life to it. I mean, that was Warren Buffett, a good example. There's a report or an article that said that when by the age of 11, he had read every book on investing in the Omaha, Nebraska library by the age of 11. So his life demonstrated that investing was important to him, and his life has been the embodiment and the expression of that, now being worth over $300 billion. So to answer that question is yes, do your values. I usually do them 1 to 2 times a year, and sometimes I do it in my head based on the reflection that I have. And I had a practical example 2 weeks ago. I was in the gym and I realized that over the past about month or so, I began to about half an hour and I was actually done. And then I was leaving, and in the moment I had this little judgment going, why are you leaving after half an hour? You should be there for 45 to an hour. And the reality is that the gym has actually come down a little bit and other values have come up. But if I kept expecting myself, which was a past version of me, to continue training for 45 minutes to an hour when it was a little bit more important, then I'm going to have another internal conflict. I was actually comparing myself to a previous version of myself, and we do that too. But the reality is yes, like think of it almost like a live ladder of values changing. It doesn't happen often, but over time they can definitely do that. So to honour that.
Mate, it's even just through summer to winter, like with gym. I just noticed that I just don't train as hard through winter. I still get down there and train, but I tend to just lax off a little bit, and there's the colder mornings. I don't know, it could be all things, but I went through a period of where I'd get really hard on myself. Oh, come on, and get out of bed, you fucking weak cunt, or whatever it might be. But then actually when I've gone, it's okay. And what is it? But, at the moment I'm setting up a quite a big company and business at the moment, and I've had to let things like this podcast or the charity and other areas of my life sort of relax on them a little bit more.
So.
And I was fighting it for a while, going, this podcast, there's studios here.
I put all this time into it.
All this time, all the listeners, fuck, I'm useless. You get to this stage, you got to keep pushing through, But it wasn't until I actually just gone, it's okay.
Yes.
These are just, and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's just things are shifting. And they can shift seasonal. They can
shift. That's it. Well, the value might be, it could be that you have a value on being attractive or a bit of beauty and a bit of this, so that you know that you're wearing less clothing in spring and summer. That's why we go to the gym a bit more.
Yeah.
And you're a bit more rugged up in winter, so it's not as important. There's still an intent. Just know that. That's why I think it's going to be valuable with the listeners.
And age.
Yeah, totally. We definitely get. Look, some people have a value on beauty till. Look at some of the ladies and men in their 60s and 70s in Hollywood, and they still care about beauty. There's nothing wrong with that. No. It still comes down to your values, because it also may be that in the winter time you have less of a social value. So again, it's like, well, why do I need to train as much? We're doing this at such a minute, unconscious level, and that's why making sure they're conscious is wise, because then that's how you come to know yourself.
Yeah.
Because your heart and soul are kind of directing you. You have the soul, the mind, the body, and when they're aligned, you're going to be living congruently. That was the Delphi Oracle's message, which is know thyself, be thyself, love thyself.
Yeah.
Know thyself. What was she saying? Know what your values are, because that's inherently who you are.
Yep.
Be thyself is the permission slip to be, not try to be number 2 at someone else and imitate someone else and inject their values, but to be who you are. Yeah. Fundamentally, the core essence of who you are is be yourself.
Yep.
And as a result, you'll have love for yourself.
Yeah. And
life, because so within as without, right? Because when you come to love and appreciate your own values, then there's less fixing and changing others, because you realize they're dedicated to that. That's the reflective awareness now, and the internal world becomes the now expression or the reflection of the outside world.
Yeah.
And the outside world is the reflected back of the inside world. So as you come to love and appreciate your set of values more and more, you'll notice there's a natural inclination of you trying to fix and change people less and less and less. Because you realize they are dedicated to that, and anything else is a waste. Anything else that I think that they're going to do is delusional.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, anyone knows that they've spoken down to their partner and think, you need to be like me, and why can't you do this? I get this very often. My partner's an interpersonal development and I need him to be like this. And I go, where is their growth and development? Because you've got a fantasy of thinking they're going to be the same like you. And by the way, you're assuming that's going to be better. What are some of the drawbacks now? I'm getting to a bit of the method.
Yeah.
I help them realize that actually, even if they got their dream outcome, no matter what happens, they're going to have pain and pleasure. And I help them crack all their fantasies that they're then torturing themselves out and depressed about because their partner's not meeting their values and their expectations. And there's a whole conversation on that. But.
Well, let's talk about relationships. And, I'm recently going through a breakup it's hard, man. A lot's come up, and a lot of I guess this is where I've reached out to you as well, man. We've done like a bit of therapy, and because I guess like in a relationship, the beautiful thing I found in it is that sometimes it can be short term or long term, but it seems to be a lesson and learn in life and what it is that you're taking from it. A lot of what come up for me was to be you said it before, you can lose yourself in a relationship.
Yeah, infatuation.
If it's through pleasing or trying to meet expectations.
Yeah. That will happen when we get infatuated with our partners.
Yeah.
Everyone knows when you first meet someone, you think, oh my God, you have brown eyes, I have brown eyes, we must be soulmates. And we get really enamored, and that's pretty normal. It's part of the bonding process. But over time, you realize they've got both sides. If you stay attached to that fantasy, they're going to let you down. They're going to betray you. They're going to be toxic because you've got an idea of who you think they are. Freud called this thing, that projection, the fantasy image you have of them. That's not really who they are. You don't really know someone until you know their shadow, their other side. And if you just go into a relationship expecting that, then they're not going to let you down because you already expect what you're going to get. Ask a married couple, a really, really fulfilled, inspired couple that have been together for 10 plus years. Do they have the other side? Yes. Is that why you love them? Yes. But most people who haven't worked out the relationship thing, it is because they continually go into the same lesson, the same relationship type, with a new individual trying to learn the same lesson, which is they had a fantasy of who they thought they were. They got enamored. That's what they call the rose-tinted glasses. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure you've been infatuated. Yeah. I remember I first met my girlfriend, highly infatuated. But over time, you realize they've got the other side. And if you're willing to embrace that, which is wisdom and expectation of reality, so now kind of your human will is matching life and divine will, you might say, and the reality of life. Because you have two sides. They're going to see your other side.
Yeah.
And if you come to know their shadow and embrace their shadow, their other side, things you like and dislike, you can now love them. You can now have actually a true love and a true intimacy, because into me, I see what I see in you, I have, I am, I've done. Not they do this and I don't. I pride myself, I've never been like that way. And why do you do this? And that's all our unconscious projections of the lessons we're here to learn in relationships.
So what's the key in relationships? I mean, this is, okay, so we just spoke about values and everything. This is great because you can't really go into a relationship until you're very clear about your own value. You can. But
it's wiser.
Yeah, it's
wiser, for sure.
So
let's hit it. Let's do it.
Then I don't know, man. I've got 100 questions here.
Let's start with one.
First thing that sort of come into mind, I guess, you got these expectations when you go into a relationship, and at first it doesn't matter what that person does. You're just,
blinded by them.
You're blinded by them.
You want to usually lock them in a room for 3 days and do weird things with your mouth.
Yeah.
It's pretty normal.
Just your mouth.
And other body parts, but yes, you want to lick
just 3 days.
Lick them in 3. Yeah. Well, 3, 4, 5, depending on your endurance.
And then obviously.
And by the way, just real quick on that, then people compare their relationship over time when it starts to settle down because you lose the infatuation, which means you're now deepening into love. They're comparing that to the initial, which is unsustainable. It's not real. It's real in the sense that it was a part of your journey, but there was still an infatuation, which was blinded by the real truth, which is that they've got both sides. And when you can love and embrace that, you now have a loving relationship.
Yeah.
At the start, you have an enamoring.
So at that point, what are we doing? What are we doing in a relationship? I mean, let's just say then we start going, okay, our values aren't aligning. Should they be aligning? Because there's this whole thing of our values should be aligning, or can they be not aligned? And, and is it about you're doing you, I'm doing me,
Yep.
But then is there that whole falling apart? So how do you see the dynamics of this point of the relationship after the 3-month mark, you know, or whatever it may be? Yeah.
That's a great question. All right. Let me just first start with some blunt things. So I think it's going to save a lot of people a lot of headaches. I just get straight to the point, rip the Band-Aid. If you are dating, if you think you're dating anything else but that individual who is committed to their own set of values, they're never going to be committed to you. My partner's not committed to me. She's committed to her values.
Yeah.
But if I want her to appear more committed to me, we need to see how we're fulfilling each other's life. That's actually where the love emerges. So if you think you're dating anyone else but they're someone who is dedicated to their life and their set of values, you're delusional.
Yeah.
I've definitely done that one. So I can say that because I said it from a place of grace.
Yeah.
If you think you're dating anyone else except a human being who has both sides, they're going to be nice to you and mean to you, turned on, turned off, open, closed, generous, stingy, all polarities you can think of, you're going to get it. If you think you're dating anything else but that, you're delusional. They're the two big torturous ones.
Sure.
Because again, we think maybe one day he'll be like this, one day she'll be like this, and they'll live up to the potential, which is just your fantasy. And that's different from also loving and appreciating who they are. And like the Michelangelo effect, which is seeing them in their greatest light, that's different. That's very different, where you're actually loving and appreciating who they are and what they're dedicated to, but you're still willing to do whatever it takes, whether it's support or challenge them, you know, be gentle or kick their ass to ensure that they fulfill their potential.
Yeah.
That's a fucking great partner, because my partner's been very supportive and she's kicked my ass. And I love her for that, because that's what's helped me fulfill my potential. She loves fundamentally who I am, and she also holds me to my highest account. That's a great partner. So there's that. That's just want to differentiate that. So they're the two main things. If you're on a first date, you're on Tinder, you're doing this, or you're even just a couple of months in, please understand that who you're dating is a human being with a set of values, and they are dedicated to that. And anything else you think they're going to do is delusional.
Yep.
Now, this comes to now equanimity and equity, because when you want your partner to do something, they've got to see a win out of it as much as you do. That's why people say you got to compromise in relationships. No, that's to me a false teaching, or a desperation. Learn to negotiate so that both parties win.
Yeah.
And that's an art, that's a skill. Sometimes you're going to butt heads. We don't always, get it quote unquote right with each other, but I understand that my partner's dedicated to what she loves. And if I speak to her in terms of what she's dedicated to, I'm speaking her language. She's going to feel seen, understood, and appreciated, and vice versa.
Yeah.
We all want to feel loved and appreciated for who we are, don't we? Well, who we are is an expression of our values.
Yeah.
So they're the two big ones. You're dating someone who's dedicated to their values, not yours. If you see how each other are going to help you fulfill your values, you have what's called value relationship alignment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was the Greeks. I could be butchering that, but they said, if you see more similarities than differences, you have the infatuation. If you see more differences than similarities, you have resentment and, despising you. But if you have an equal of similarities and differences, you have love. So when people say this was a better relationship, what they're really saying is that I was more aligned. It was more fulfilling to have them in my life than, say, my previous partner. But the reality is you would have still chose them.
Yeah.
And sometimes also when people say that, they're still actually in the deluded phase. They think they're going to get more pleasure, but they're not. There's the universal principles. We haven't really spoken about them because they do govern the Demartini Method, and also they're governing life, which is there are universal laws which you can't break.
Yeah.
If I drop this phone right now, I'm not going to do, you could actually measure precisely the speed and acceleration due to the law of gravity.
Yeah.
There's the law of thermodynamics playing in our body, and temperature regulation, and all through life. So the law of electromagnetism, there's law of correspondence. There's laws of this life that govern the universe. I think everyone would agree with that. Then there's human laws which are imposed, like be honest, don't steal, don't murder. We do all those things. So no one can actually live human laws because they're unlivable, but you can't violate universal laws. They're unviolatable. I can't just suddenly fly and break the law of gravity.
Yeah.
So those laws are playing out actually in every part of your life, including relationships, like the law of equanimity, right? So that's where I tend to also think that maturity is realizing that life as it is what's magnificent, but we've kind of been hoodwinked into thinking that it's going to be something else.
Yeah.
And that's the torture, that's the fantasy. I think I'm going to get a pleasure without a pain. But there's also the law of conservation, which says energy is not going to be created nor destroyed, and there's always a conservation. And I'm sure if the people just get really honest with themselves, they would recognize that no matter where they go and what they do, life has pleasure and pain.
Yeah.
Support and challenge, upsides and downsides, positive and negatives. So this idea of being a happy person and a positive person and a nice person is usually why they're tortured and haunted by the other side.
Yeah.
In fact, the most depressed people I know are the ones trying to seek happiness. The brain is letting them know that they're seeking a fantasy. So as they dissociate into their happy life, they now have an associating nightmare, which is called depression, which is the therapy. People think it's a mental health disease and a mental health, issue. It's the therapy.
Yeah.
It's the homeostating therapy to let you know you're not appreciating life as it is. You're dissociating out into fantasies of I want a happy life and a pleasurable life and a positive life.
Because you're looking to outward and not inward.
You're seeking something that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
The laws, think about the laws, everything going on in your body
Is this
right
where
now.
gratitude's really good and comes into
Well,
play?
true gratitude, yes, because pseudo gratitude is any time you get support and you go, thank you for getting what you want. When someone or life supports you. Parasympathetic, in other words. That's a form of gratitude, but it's not the whole true gratitude. True gratitude is also embracing the pains and the challenges in your life to see how they're on the way, not in the way. If I seek fantasies, I want the pleasure, but I don't want the pain. I want ease, but not difficulty. I want a positive, I don't want a negative. Well, you can't have certainty in that state, so you're likely going to have anxieties and depressions and unappreciation or ingratitude.
Yeah.
So true gratitude is the embracing of both. People think it's just when they support you. That's a form, but it's a primitive form. True gratitude, yes, emerges at the center point of challenge and support.
Yeah. So what's your message? I mean, there's a lot. Thanks for that, man. I guess. So what's your message? I'm just going to go back to within a relationship.
There's a relationship. That was the core
more or
topic,
less like trying to have the conversation like we're in a relationship and working out these values. And if they're aligning or not aligning, at what point, because you also see a lot of relationships continuously butt heads and try to.
Yeah, because they're trying to make each other something they're not.
Yeah.
They're trying to talk down to their partner.
Yeah. So at what point, I mean, can a relationship look? Well, what's the advice? I guess, like like the female's going, you should be more like this, and
you should be more like this.
Yeah, you should be more like that, because that's generally what's going on.
Totally.
I mean,
and then you have what's called alternating monologues instead of a dialogue. It's a respectful dialogue.
Yeah.
One person speaks, one person's not listening, and then that person speaks, and that person's not listening, and it's just you butt heads, and instead of a respectful dialogue.
Yeah. And I'd imagine, because I know what it's like in my own personal relationships.
Did I?
And not
sure,
just
everyone's relating right now.
Just be fucking
same as
honest.
kids, by the way. This is the same for kids, but let's just stick with spouse. Let's keep it.
But communication, man, is a huge one. I mean, honesty in terms of like our values and things like that. Because sometimes it's like, all right, babe, fucking. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with an excuse here, but like I want to be a little bit more free and get out there with the boys a bit more. I don't know. I think, well, it's a good example, but communicating and to also then to feel safe to be able to be honest and open and vulnerable with your partner, and to be listened to. I don't know, man. You're sort of picking up what I'm putting down here.
Okay. I feel like I know what you're saying. I'll run off a few internet tabs.
Yeah.
If you value in yourself and you come into a relationship more or less, we're always unfolding and evolving. I don't know who I am, and I know who I am.
Sex is a big one.
We'll get to that for sure. Well, then there's lots of
internet tab.
Yeah, there's lots of definitely I could say on that. If you are coming to know yourself, which relationships are beautiful mirrors because they're going to reflect back all of our unloved stuff. If you have a great, I mean, everyone's a great partner in one sense, but I just say the really, really great mates, not the one who you're going to have happily ever after with. They're actually the one that pokes all of your buttons to reveal all the shit you still have in love within yourself, and vice versa. That's a great relationship. But people, again, if they're dedicated to being prideful of being one side and they're trying to negate the other side and their partner's poking that button, if they're unwise and think that that's not a lesson for you to grow in, you're going to go, well, they're a toxic narcissist and a bitch in that, right? So wisdom is knowing that as they trigger you, that is your own perception and your own responsibility to uncover that wound, because someone going to push a button if there's a button to push. If there's no button, there's no button. You've learned a lesson.
So are you saying that if you're, I'm going to try to put this into words as well, like, so if your partner, or if your wife or your girlfriend is continuously poking the bear, and you're looking at like, man, you're just being spiteful, you've been a bitch, or you know, like being narcissist or whatever, because is it that, well, no, why are you reacting to the...
Yeah, look, there's context and nuance here for sure. I don't want to make it black and white. But the reality is if you respect yourself, your partner's going to respect you. because so within as without. That doesn't mean you're not going to have disagreements and butt heads. My partner and I do that. Yeah. But there's a respect way to do it, because at the end of the day, underneath that disagreement and argument is, I still love you and you're my best friend.
Yeah,
well, sure. Underneath that is still love.
Yep.
Like,
is it coming from love?
Because the fullness of the relationship is the times that we praise and reprimand, that we're nice and mean. And if we can do that in the way that deep down we understand that we're actually still best friends and we want the best for each other, then we're going to argue and fight and disagree in a way that's productive. That opens the doorway to deeper communication, deeper intimacy, deeper growth, deeper learnings, deeper evolutions. And so we're not basically butting heads. We're at a crossroads to go, well, what's something that can unfold from this and be birthed out of our disagreements, out of our argument, out of our indifferences. So
what would that look like in a conversation for you and your partner? Like, I mean, is it that she comes up and has something that she wants to talk to you about?
Yeah, that's usually what we do. Is just, hey, babe, I've got something to clear.
You might go retaliate, or I mean, obviously you're going to listen if you're doing it right.
If I disrespect it, I go, well, piss off, and we always coming at me and this and that, and well, that's my unwillingness to actually care about what she has to say.
Yep.
I could also be, have pride. They could be humbling. It could be, again, lots of things. That's why I don't want to make it one thing. There could be lots of things. If I disrespect my partner and I look down upon them, then anytime she's going to come to me, I'm going to go, I'm not going to care about her. I'm going to speak down to her. So it's caring enough to actually listen to what's going on for them and not making them right or wrong, you right or wrong, credit, blame, one's right, one's wrong. Just there's a dynamic. There's something to be spoken and cleared. We all know that if you don't clear your stuff and you push under the rug, it plays out in your relationship. It's all the shit under the rug you've put there. Clear it. So we just do a simple thing of just like, is there anything you need to clear? Sometimes we just check in. Or if there is something, it's just like, hey, babe, by the way, when you did this, I noticed I felt, not you made me feel, because that's you made me feel the blame. I noticed I felt this way. And if you respect each other and there's a level of respect there, and you want to care enough because you love that individual to care about how your actions initiated a reaction or what you did or didn't do. It doesn't, again, make you right or wrong and now I've got to fix it and repair it and all that kind of stuff. It's just to come into love and appreciate what's actually there for you. And that could be so unique. I don't know. I don't want to say what it could be, but it could be greater communication because, you might have thought I need to have them have a crystal ball and they don't. And so it could be the doorway to deeper communication or more effective communication. It could be the pride you're having and talking down and she's now coming back to try and level the play field because she feels like the underdog and unappreciated and you're not listening. It could be lots of things. But at the end of the day, because you said something before about, is it just about you doing you? I would say yes, but then you're dancing and holding hands because the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So if you can hold and have develop the capacity to go that this, again, no, is anyone got a gun to your head to be in the relationship? No. So you're still choosing it? Yes. Well, it's probably for a reason. Because I had this recently, someone asked should I stay or should I go? And I said, if you're still asking the question, you're not done. You already got your answer. Yeah. Because if you were done, you'd be done.
Yeah.
So I help sometimes people on the brink of breakups and divorces. I help them actually reunite the love because you wouldn't be there if there was still lessons to learn and love to play out and a dance to be had. So please make note of that for the listeners. If you're in a relationship and you're asking, should I stay or should I go? If you're asking the question, you're not done.
Yeah. So what would the question then be?
Well, then this is where I do relationship work with individuals. Usually quite powerful work too, is I get them to write out everything that you are resenting in them. Every trait that you're repulsed by and cringe and don't like, that's like a physical trait because we judge on skin and appearance. Or an action, which is most of the time, 90% of the Demartini Method, it's a random number, but the vast majority is of actions because we judge through our muscles. Motor function, things that we do. Because if I'm shouting at you, my voice muscles, my throat, my hyoid and digastric group and voice, that's all working. Or if I slap you or push you or constrain you or reject you verbally, I'm doing something that's an action that you don't like, that you might despise, didn't like that, was painful, distressful, or you're really resenting it. So that's usually the first thing I do is I help couples and each other separately clear their own resentment because that's what's really, that's the armor. Everyone knows, every guy knows that they can't open to their woman and every woman knows that they struggle to open to their guy. And by the way, the infatuations play there too because sometimes they force themselves open because they've still got an attachment. And this is again where a lot of the internal conflicts happen. I mean, how many women are probably listening right now if they are going, yeah, there's that time where I just felt guilty. I wanted to please him. So I forced myself open or did X, Y, Z. And the guy, same thing, where he probably sacrificed himself too. So that's number one, practicality is, and I know it's like, well, what do I do? But I would clear the resentments first. It's just probably a bit too much on the on the podcast. There's some things I could definitely go through.
Yeah.
Too much to go through the full process.
Yep.
But clear your shit is the take home.
Yeah.
Clear your stuff with them. It doesn't make you wrong. Just clear your stuff with them. That's the first one. Just to finish this off. The second thing is when they're actually done a couple of what I call traits, actions, and actions on the Demartini Method. When they're actually grateful, because I did this actually recently with a lady. She said, my heart feels open. You would not believe everything she was fantasizing about wanting the guy to have a value in personal growth and development. The moment she gave up that attachment and actually really opened her heart, he started doing work because she lost her attachment and she opened her heart to him and there was a dynamic there, something shifted. But one powerful exercise I also do is I want to make this a really clear one is you link your values. So if you feel like you're growing apart and you're going separate ways, but there's still some part that goes, I'm not done. I still love this human being and I want to be with them, but I feel like they're over there and I'm over here is yes, I clear the resentment. So there's an open heart, loving state that really opens the doorway. And then I start to help them, basically remyelinate the brain so they see how what they're dedicated to, which is their values, and their partner's values, which is what they're dedicated to. I help them see how basically their top values are linked and how they're helping them fulfill their values. Sure. I reestablish the value that individual is bringing to their life, which brings now their values closer together. I help them rebond and relink so they're grateful and appreciative of the value they bring in their life. Yeah. Those two exercises alone are usually what saves marriages and relationships. Clear all the things that you've got, all the resentments, because that adds the armor and it pushes you away and all that internal turmoil. And I help them now when I do that to reestablish the value that they each bring, both them and themselves. Because if they don't value themselves, then they're going to be the underdog. I want you to also value what you bring to the relationship. Because that's also where respect is birth. If you're the overdog, you're going to look down on them and you're going to want to keep your options open, right? You want to kind of be free and I need more freedoms. You're going to feel trapped and smothered by the underdog. Yeah. If you're the underdog, you're going to want to smother and lock them down because you fear the loss of them because they're above you. Yeah. That's an unsustainable relationship. You can't have actually true respect and intimacy there. Because they say that the eye is the window to the soul, right? So how can you be looking into someone if you're above or below them?
True. Yeah.
You can only look into them when you're looking across from them.
Is there and to sort of calibrate that,
that's the Demartini Method, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, cool.
Because you're taking all the things that you infatuate with your partner, where you're looking up at them, and you're taking all the things that you resent in them, the things you look down on them, you put them in the shit pit, and you're bringing it back to a balance and equanimity and a loving, graceful state where true love, true gratitude, true intimacy is birthed. And in that state, respect and then communication changes. Yeah. You're more respectful in communication.
Is it also understanding your partner's values? It's just like
that's the first. As well. If you don't know your partner's values, you don't even know who you're dating.
Also them being honest about their value. Well, yeah, true. I mean, you naturally just know, don't you? Even if they're not.
If they're not clear, but you'll probably also, if you're a bit wishy-washy with yours, you're likely to be with someone who might be a bit wishy-washy, or you could be with someone who's really clear and they keep triggering in that you to help you grow. So you honor your values. Because if you're uncertain about your values and you seem like they're very certain, you could be envious and kind of have a bit of infatuation and think, well, I'm not good enough. And why are they so clear and I'm not? They're going to keep poking that button to awaken that part of you to help you love and appreciate yourself. Sure. That's going to be a great partner. If you take it upon yourself to reflect and honor why this dynamic's playing out. Because he's likely going to, or she could be doing that to help you empower yourself, to appreciate yourself, to get on the level. That's why the pain's there. The trigger's the gift. I say your triggers are your treasures, right? I mean, that's all contextual and there's nuance there. But in a nutshell, our wounds and insecurities and triggers and buttons and all those things are for us, to help us grow and learn lessons. So, and we have people in our lives pushing those buttons to help us grow. Yeah. So yes, in relationship, to bring that one home, yes, if you don't know your partner's values, you don't know who they are. You don't even know who you're dating because who they are is an expression of their values. It's wise to ask them or even just think, like, because you've been around them probably 1, 2, 3 years. Or just ask them, because if you're doing your values, and there's a specific way I do it, you can actually go on, because one of my teachers is John Demartini, you can actually go on his website, drdemartini.com/values.
Yeah, okay.
Or just type in values Demartini. You'll find it. And he's got a great algorithm, just ask you a bunch of questions. There's 13 determinants. And as you answer the questions, honestly, don't bullshit it, honestly, and with integrity, put in what your life demonstrates. It'll spit out a pie chart. Cool. It'll list, because you get to group them all and it's going to show you. It's got a great little algorithm. It just does it beautifully and electronically.
I'll try and find that link. I'll put it.
Put it in the thing. And then when you know your values and you have more clarity about who you are and what you're dedicated to, and then like I said, that permission slip to start really owning and honoring that, then I would approach your partner. This is obviously for all the people that want this practicality step. because it does help and it is a game changer. Saves you a lot of headaches and a lot of money, is then approach them. Because let's just say I was approaching you and I wanted to have more love and intimacy with you, and I'm your beautiful wife, and I want to have greater sex, and I know you want the same thing too. If I approach you and I said, Dave, baby, I know we've been fighting, I know we've been arguing, I want to respect you more, I want us to communicate more clearly, I really want us to have a more inspiring, expansive, powerful, intimate relationship. Would you please do this exercise for me so I know exactly what you're dedicated to, so I can speak to you more respectfully and love you more? I'm pretty sure you'd want to do that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If I saw a win out of it, and if I had my woman say that to me, I'd be like, fuck yeah, where do I sign up?
Yeah.
You know? So if
and if they're not, then I guess
if they're not, that's probably the conversation then. Go in with high intention, low attachment, because if you go in with the fantasy that they're going to say yes, you're going to torture yourself if they don't. So just go in with an open mind and high intention, low attachment.
Because I do hear a lot, sorry mate, just quickly on that, because you do hear a lot of, you know, sometimes when we're doing these, because I facilitate 9D breathwork sessions and stuff, and sometimes you get a lot of wives or girlfriends say, man, I just wish, you know, I see what you boys are doing, you know, I just wish I could get my man to come and do this.
The I wish is the fantasy they got in their head. They think that if their man did that, their life would be better.
Well, I guess, okay, so where I'm going to with offering something like the Demartini sort of thing, and then you know, their fear would be rejection, or to be, you know, them to sort of.
Well, it could be their pride. That them I wish is them saying that I need them to be like me. That's actually them talking down to their partner and dismissing and devaluing what they're dedicated to.
Yeah. Which to me, that would answer the question of why you're in this relationship. I mean, like if I went to my partner and sincerely from my heart wanted to do something that's going to benefit her and the relationship and myself, and then you get rejected, then that's where you got to ask the question, what am I doing in this relationship? Would you? Or is it?
Well, yes and no. It could just be something that if they reject, okay, fair enough. But that's obviously not what, remember, every human being is making decisions based on what they think is going to give them the greatest advantage of a disadvantage. If you come to the table with something that they see a win out of it, they're going to do it. If not, the wise thing to know is that I didn't offer enough value, or I didn't speak to them in their values, or I still came with a hope and a fantasy and projected onto them. If they see a win out of it and they feel respected, they're going to want to do it.
That's true.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Because the same goes for you. If someone said, I need you to do this, and rammed it down your throat, would you want to do it?
No.
If you kept feeling disrespected and like I was trying to fix and change you, would you actually want to go fix and change yourself?
Well, I would for my if it was
if I disrespected you and spoke down to you and said, I need you to do personal growth and development. I need you to come to breathwork. Why aren't you coming doing this?
Yeah.
Would you feel respected?
No.
Would you have any desire to want to go even do that?
Not really. No.
But if I came to you and said, baby, like I would love to have this experience with you. I understand that you're busy in this and that. What would it mean to you, or what would you want, or how would you want to do this? Because this is really important to me. They have to see a win. It's vice versa. That's the art of negotiation. And also to have the realistic expectation that's not always going to happen. They just may not see eventually in a big enough value. But if they see it, I assure you, they will do it.
And finding that right time to do it as well.
For time and place, that's it. Like I said, I could speak for 6,000 relationships. There's context and nuance. Not everything's black and white for sure. There's a field of grey. But that is the essence of it. Now, again, I did this recently, and I do this very commonly with women who do want to fix and change their man. They sometimes even see me, or they see other guys in the men's field, and they go, why can't my partner be like that? And I think, fuck the poor bastard. Like, you know, I get it, because I've also been in that field, you know, like, why aren't I like that, right? So that's
vice versa.
Vice versa. But when I help them clear the resentments, which is all the things that they're judging, that they're too proud to admit that what they see in their partner, they've actually got, and now they're speaking down to them, they put them in the shit pit. When I get them out of the shit pit, already that's changing, because they now have love for who they are. And more importantly and powerfully, I then do the linking exercise. I actually help them see how, because if they're dedicated to FIFO, fly in, fly out, or they're dedicated to truck driving, or they're dedicated to whatever it is, it could be anything, fucking arts and crafts. It doesn't matter what it is. Or they're a mechanic, they're a carpenter, they're a plumber, who doesn't matter what it is. I help them reestablish, one, why the fuck are you with that man? Because if you're not going to love him, and same thing, if you're not going to love her for who they are, why are you with them? You're just trapping them. And they're not being loved and appreciated for who they are. Let them go. Because you're also trapped as well. But for most part, if they're with them, it's not because of that. Sometimes it is. It's usually actually pretty rare, believe it or not. We choose each other for a reason. I'm pretty certain of that. So I help them reestablish the appreciation and value they're bringing, and stop comparing their values to someone else that maybe is sometimes even just scrolled on Instagram and they're going, oh, why can't my partner be like that? Why can't my woman be like that? Why can't my man be like that? And we just compare. We just project fantasies of, oh, now I need you to be this. Well, stop. Remember who you're dating. Someone who's dedicated to their values. If you're not willing to be with that and grow with them as they grow with you and watch each other evolve. Anyone in a long-term relationship, you guys know, you ask the question, you go, are you guys the same when you met? They go,
No.
I mean, I'm having 3 years with my partner now, and I go, we were kids back then. Like we've just seen so many versions and had so many deaths and rebirths. You're designed to build and destroy each other because the universe does that, and you are the universe. You're the universe in a human, not a human in the universe, meaning you're not separate from it. So like I said, the laws, they're playing out. There's a build and destroy mechanism in the universe. It has to remodel itself. I'm sure we've all heard that, every 7 years you get a new body. You're building and destroying yourself. One's called mitosis, cells are birthed. One's apoptosis, cells die. So you're remodeling. You have neuroplasticity and bone plasticity and muscle plasticity and organ plasticity. You're remodeling yourself. So you and your partner and your union is remodeling itself. It's being built and destroyed.
Sure.
That's why if you attach to the fantasy, you can't let it grow because you're going, oh, in the beginning it was like this and this and this, and it was all pleasure, rose into glasses, which was mostly just a dissociated state. That's not, again, it's a nice entry and a bonding. We need that, the oxytocin to get together. It's actually a survival response because we need babies. If not, 100 years, we're all going extinct. But the deeper love that emerges in a long-term relationship is something that is so far more profound than that infatuation stage. It's more profound. It's more deep because now you have access to the soul. You can't access the soul. People think infatuation is, oh my God, I found my soulmate. It's not. That's where you're blinded by the infatuation because people think they're blinded by love. No, you're clear with love. You're blinded by the infatuation because that's why they call the rose-tinted glasses. You're seeing the projected fantasy you have of them, which is not really who they are. When you come to really, really know someone, both their light and shadow, their expression of their values, you see all their flavors, all their bits, and you're still willing to love and embrace them. Now you have love, man. Yeah. Now you can get access to the soulmate. Prior to that, you're dating projections and fantasies. That may be part of your journey. It's part of mine. I've definitely had that. I've had it with most of my partners. Yeah. And then until I realized, gaining wisdom, who I'm actually dating is the expression of their essence, which is their values. That's their purpose. That's what they're dedicated to. And they're two-sided. Yeah. See how many guys and girls are going, I need a nice guy. I need a nice girl. She needs to be selfless and be this, be one-sided. And so they're going to feel elated and feel like, oh, I've got the one when they do that half the time. Yeah. And then the moment they do the opposite, so that's tonic, and then the other one's toxic. If you realize the tonic and the toxic is still your own perception of whatever they express, if you're unwilling to accept, I don't mean just accept, because that's a tolerance, to embrace that, so it's actually a deeper appreciation of that they are two-sided, the magnificence of our two-side, light and shadow, then you're going to torture yourself because you think, oh, they were tonic at the beginning, and then they became a narcissist and a toxic this. And look, because I want to speak again really widely and contextually. I'm not negating that there's shitty quote unquote relationships and sometimes challenging things and sometimes traumatic and aggressive. I'm not negating all of that because I know that comes part and parcel with sometimes relationships. I'm not negating that, but I also know because I've worked with that day in, day out, week in, week out, that a lot of that is due to the projected fantasies. They were addicted to having a nice, gentle, soft guy or girl. And so when they display the opposite, which is what they're going to get, and they've dissociated and denied and gone, oh, I don't want that, then they've now projected, oh, they're a narcissist, they're toxic, they're this, they're that. And I just don't find that to be true.
No, I get it.
Because I've obviously lived that out when I was addicted to fantasies.
It's a little bit like with my business partner. He's I'm more the sales guy that goes 100 miles an hour, makes everything happen, and
he's your opposite?
He's my opposite.
You're perfect for each other.
Yeah, he's an engineering brain, so for instance, like we've just signed this new workshop and he's the guy that will go through the contract with a fine tooth comb. Yep. And he'll be like here and here. And to me, I'm like, oh man, like just sign the fucking contract, But it's also understanding that this is a strength. I need to learn off this. This is your part in the
you don't need to learn that. You just let him do it.
Well, that's right.
That's it. You're going to be the captain, and he's going to be the captain in certain different roles, and that will be where you're most valuable. You have the highest value. Yeah, that's where you're the most competent.
And it's appreciating that about him.
That's it.
And
that's why you usually attract your opposite in relationships. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
So I think about it. Jade's kind of in many ways my total opposite, and we have things that are similar.
Yeah. I like that, man.
But generally speaking, you attract your disowned parts to help you empower those disowned parts. So if you're thinking out there, man, I just attracted someone that I never thought I would have attracted.
You sort of want to wish it upon yourself.
That's why, like with magnets, opposite attract, because what you're attracting is all of the disowned parts, and you are designed in a relationship in that entity, that ecosystem, just you and them, let alone a family, because your children come part of that ecosystem too. you're designed to attract the individual that you have the most disowned parts with, to then awaken those parts to become more whole and integrated within yourself. They're going to reflect back all the things that you've got insecurities on, and your prides and shames, infatuated resentments. All those judgments you have on yourself and them are designed that way to recollect them and integrate them, so you feel more whole and loving. You know, there's that great expression that says, you love yourself to the degree that you make everyone and everything in the universe you. And 80 years on the planet, you'll be doing that for the rest of your life. There's, new levels, new devils. And we're always going to be judging. But you will come to feel more connected to life itself, the fabric and structure of existence itself, as you recollect these pieces and you realize that everything on the outside going on is actually a reflection of me.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of like an esoteric, hippy-dippy cliche, but I find it to be true. When I run the Demartini Method and people are done with whatever they're working on, the self, the illusion of the self, the Maya as the Buddhists call it, the self and the other collapses. There's just love. There is no self and other. I'm here, you're there. There's just a total loving presence. When I do really deep work with people on the Demartini Method, and we do what's called the close, and we have a surrogate, someone else playing the role of the individual they worked on, at the end, we're face to face, right in each other's grills, and the room disappears. Everything disappears, and that person literally morphs into the individual that you're working on. And they will also morph into someone that's important that you need to have a conversation with. And you're up in what's called the noosphere, having a conversation. The room disappears. Unless you've done this process, it's just too hard to even articulate. Yeah. But that's what's happening. I remember doing once, a lady, I was her surrogate for a business partner, and she was an older lady, and she kind of looked like my mum. But just an old lady. She was in her 70s. And we closed our eyes. We were both, knee to knee, heart to heart, just in each other's grill. And the moment we opened each other's eyes, she literally turned into my mum, and I had a conversation with my mum. Wow. And I turned into her, and we just at first there was no speak. You're really done when there's no words. You actually don't need words when you're done. Yeah. When there's just tears pouring out of you, and there is a love that just fucking permeates the room, you now know you've accessed the superconscious state of love and wisdom. Yeah. Real true love, not the puppy dog infatuation. So true deep love.
What's coming up for me now, man? And like, I've got to be mindful of time as well here. But
we could do this all day, couldn't we?
Like, oh, definitely, man. Like, I mean, even for myself, right? Like, you're so powerful, bro. Like, you like the work that you do. I mean, I could sit here for hours and listen to you, but there's so much to take on. But like, what's coming up for me now, and particularly if I'm taking in the mind of the listeners, is like, okay, so. And maybe we might end it with this, and I'm going to hope that we get you on again and again and again, because I love it.
By the way, I'm both powerful and powerless. Nothing's missing. But thank you. I appreciate the comment.
You're powerful on those webs, on those podcasts, bro.
Yeah, I'm fucking useless in other areas. Don't worry. I'm secure and I'm insecure,
But I guess, we'll leave with this, and I know I'll have you back on again and again, and we'll probably be a little bit more specific about the topics that we can go into, because, even just with values and relationships, it's been huge. Yeah. But let's leave it with like...
Because we can do things like chronic disease and healing and fasting. Man. We mentioned juicing, but didn't really touch it.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So let's do that, man. We'll lock in another date soon. Okay. And I'll keep this, man, because I'd love to go on the juicing, even talking about the pharmaceutical drugs over natural holistic healing, And,
yeah, I'd love to sound that. Yeah. And probably not what people think either. Yeah. But I'm actually quite supportive of pharmaceutical drugs. Yeah. I'm supportive of both. Yeah, yeah. I challenge both. Yeah. I'm not one or the other, so.
Yeah, so we'll do that. But with values and relationships.
By the way, can I just jump in? Is this limited on, you think, my time or just your time?
Both.
Okay, because Joe Rogan sometimes does 3.5 hours. I just think.
Oh, is it? Yeah. I've got to go and I'm getting Reiki done.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. But I allowed 2 hours for this. Perfect. So I didn't even know.
Yeah, chill. Yeah. What's the topic?
I sort of like the idea, though, that we do get specific on some topics for other podcasts as well.
Totally. Yeah.
And if we'll allow 3.5 hours for that one, man.
We'll run with it. Yeah.
And some food and some
Totally.
Bro, just taking into values and relationships, man. I would naturally want to get connected with you if I was having a relationship that needed some more help, or even on a personal level, and trying to get some. What's some first steps that can be taken, and how do we get hold of? How does one get hold of you, or what's something you recommend, or like some of your workshops that you do? I want you to speak a little bit more into that to give, I guess, a little bit more understanding and knowledge about, like.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll be posted in the show notes as well, but Instagram's where I'm most active. I'm eventually going to start a YouTube channel, but Instagram for now is where I'm most active. So it's just my name, Mitchell Vickridge. Mitchell double L, Vickridge is Vickridge, Mitchell Vickridge, you'll find me. So that's one way to get connected. I do consulting. I do all types of consult. Any of the 7 areas of life where I think, I can really help you, which is going to be those areas, because I've pretty much for the last 20 years tried to get my hands on everything I can in the 7 areas of life, the holistic health field and the healing arts for sure, and personal development growth. So I'm more than happy to connect with someone. I do one-on-one coaching. I don't do a lot of that. I have limited spaces there because my real big love is the Nirvana Health community. That's the thing that I'm really growing. And I want to make that Australia's #1 leading holistic health community.
And how does that look?
Well, that's, again, I just have a website, nirvanahealth.co, not .com, but .co, and you basically join a community and it's $89 a month. I say it's less than a cup of coffee a day. And the purpose and intention of the Nirvana Health community is to help you maximize your health, healing, and personal development quest. Because we want to evolve, we want to have great, vibrant health, and there's this. The healing arts for me is you returning to the balance, the mean, the middle path, to love, to wellness, to homeostasis. That's how you maximize healing, is the middle path. And there's so many fields and ologies like psychology and physiology and all these ologies and areas where when you find that, the quest to find that can be really fun and inspiring. Because if you have an excess of something, how do you bring it down? You have a deficiency of something, how do you bring it back up? Hypo, too much, too little. And so the healing is really about returning to, again, a balance of the universe, a balance within you, because you are the universe expressed as a human. So learning how to basically maximize healing there, that's a big part. Because as you know, the healing industry is a huge one. And I really wanted to just basically, study the greatest healers on the planet and what were the common threads and what were some of those tools that I'm now bringing in, because I've licked all the gambit. I mean, the only thing I probably haven't done is drink my own piss, but.
Are you finding like a common thing or theory among all the different healers and religions and?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree. Just make note of that, because I want to finish off. So that just the community is, yes, a place where we have weekly calls. I've got a compendium of wisdom of all health protocols and labels of disease. I have multiple interventions. So that's from asthma to anxiety to endometriosis to ankylosing spondylitis to brain cancer to you name it. I've got protocols for people to come in and start working with these things based on either clinical evidence. I even put in all the fringe weird shit. I just make sure that I know, like I've seen this work multiple times or have personal experience with, plenty of clients that I've seen this work. So a whole, again, range and a kind of a spectrum of things that are going to be most effective and efficient for helping people reclaim their health or maximize their health and healing. And then, of course, personal development work where they can start learning the Demartini Method, because I probably have a bit of a bias, but I think that if you know this method, you have a competitive advantage in life.
Sure.
Because you can learn how to start understanding your internal landscape. Why do I have intrusive thoughts? Why do I have negative thinking? Why do I have fears? Why do I have anxieties? Why do I have depression? Why do I feel attached? Why am I experiencing grief? And learning actually understand your internal landscape, your inner sense of self and your experience in real life. That's all in there. So that's the easiest and cheapest way is to come to a community. And that's ongoing and building. And as I grow, it grows.
And what does that look like, this community? Is it like, I notice you do like a lot of live talking on Instagram.
Yeah, we just have WhatsApp group, we have a private members area, a login, you have modules, we have calls every week, and that just rotates, It's whether it's holistic health, the Demartini Method. I'm doing a breath work and body work in a couple of weeks. Cool. So that'll change through. Sometimes, rarely, I'll get guest speakers in. That'll grow over time.
Yep.
So that's just, really a hub and a space for you to come to empower your life.
Awesome.
So that's an easiest way. Or you can do one-on-one. That's usually the two ways of the offerings that I have at the moment.
Yeah.
And I like it that way. To come back to your question before is that the common threads, there's I've come to learn that there's what you would call polarized feelings or emotions and transcendental feelings, which aren't emotions, because people think love's an emotion. My research and study says it's not. Love transcends the polarities of emotions and transcends the emotions to create a feeling. It's like two magnets coming together. The result of the two magnets coming together is the transcendental state. So love and gratitude were rife throughout those. They were inspired by what they do, and there was some level of finding love and gratitude. That's more of like the healing arts with the energetics. With the healers, with like, say, the herbs and the supplements, that was all about addressing excess and deficiency. Because if you have too much iron, you have hemochromatosis. If you have too little iron, you have iron deficiency. So how do you work out what systems in the body are driving that? What dysfunctions or genetic polymorphisms, or what about your diet? And especially if there's a deficiency, because that's rife. Because sometimes people think I got to eat more red meat and have more iron. That may not be the case. It may be your localized or systemic inflammation. You could have a really dehydrated terrain and you have a lot of biofilm, you've got parasites eating all of your iron, like who knows? I want to create, again, a whole range of things to help people address that. And there were the common threads, really the two things, the energetic side of things, which is finding love and gratitude to then be inspired by that. You have certainty in those states, and that's very healing. The amount of times I've seen people with chronic body pain, like the fibromyalgias and ankylosing spondylitis and even colitis and all that kind of stuff, the amount of healings I've seen in real time from this work is profound. I always say a lot of chronic disease and the illness outside of toxicity and addressing things like excess and deficiency is extreme emotions. In fact, I haven't found one case working with chronic disease to date that didn't have one or many really highly charged emotional components. It was actually a conflict shock. It was kind of like the Germanic New Medicine type thing, where that's what was creating either the growth or the atrophy of the organ or the something. An extreme emotion is usually what I find, and one or many. So there's amazing healing, and the great healers were about that, finding love and gratitude.
So if with chronic disease, if you're one of these people that have experiencing this or going through this and reaching out to you, I mean, fuck, that's huge. Like, in one, just finding that, is that a one-on-one, or is that joining the community?
Yeah, it depends, because a classic example that comes to mind was Todd, the guy that you'll probably have seen on my Instagram. I've got little highlights. He was in, I think it was Queensland Hospital, like dead. Like literally the trauma team came in and said, ring your family, because they were in New South Wales, and get them up here.
From what? Like what?
What the medical doctors like to call ulcerative colitis. They're medical labels. I don't use labels, but sure, diagnostics and everything, that's fine. But he had the colitis, so he was basically bleeding out his bum for years. It's very similar to what I had. Yeah. And he was on the verge of death, and the trauma team said, you're likely to die within a day or two. Please ring your family up. And so they had every medical doctor you can imagine in that hospital trying to keep this guy alive. And he managed to ring me in the hospital bed and was like, hello.
Did you know him at this age?
I kind of knew of him, and he knew of me. He'd heard my story. Yeah. And I got that call and I was thinking, fuck, really, God?
Yeah, wow.
But clearly it was part of the journey. And so anyway, cut a long story short, I worked with him and his family because he was so brittle. I needed to work with his mum and dad at the same time, and they were funding a whole thing. And 9 months we worked together. But by 9 months he was drug-free, symptom-free, gained 25 kilos and got his life back. Yeah. And so it just depends where you're at. That's an extreme case, but it could be someone that has endometriosis. And a common pattern I find with that, for example, and most people don't even know about the endometriosis world, is that very commonly it's an extreme resentment or aversion to the mother, to the feminine. Her saying, I'd never be like my mum. And all of the charge, the resentments to the things that she did do or didn't do that they've perceived as painful, distressful, challenging, negative, traumatic, that I swear I'd never be like my mum. And so as a result of that perception, which changes all the autonomics, all the cytokines, all the epigenetic, expression of DNA, they start to have this, overgrowth of endometrial cells, or they have abnormal growth, or the thickening, which is adenomyosis, and all these abnormalities. And then they're thinking that supplements are the way, well, I've got to change my nutrition. And that can help. I definitely use nutritional intervention, and I use supplemental intervention. And all this is in the community, by the way, too. But I then look at the common patterns with the women that continually have these types of experiences. And I very commonly find the number one thing is an aversion that she swears she would never be like her mum.
Fuck.
So then we get to work on the mum, and we let love and gratitude heal her, rebalance, you might say, the perceptions, help her access the superconscious state, let love and gratitude permeate her body, because part of loving your life is loving your parents, realizing you got the perfect parents and the perfect family. How many times you have that thought, you think, fuck, why did I get this family? That's a bit odd. Yeah. At the end of the day, part of loving your life is realizing you have the perfect family. Man. And you're all different jigsaw puzzle pieces, making the jigsaw puzzle, because that's why very commonly, siblings are like, what the fuck, they're so different to me. That's the perfection. So I commonly find that in, like I said, a typical case of endometriosis. Colitis, usually the shitty experience you haven't digested, or the pent-up emotions and all the repressed rage and anger. It's a hot one. So it's usually repressed things that you're still holding on to in the colon and not letting go of. Or, built up ideas and all these scattered ideas and these unprocessed, undigested ideas, that you're not letting go of. So the body, usually, there's that Bessel van der Kolk, the body keeps the score. I kind of superimpose that into disease. Because that's usually what's happening as well. Yeah, man. If it's not physiological and there's not some, toxicity, or there's not some of nutritional deficiency or something, I usually and very commonly find some extreme emotional charge that drove the adaptation of that tissue, which created the manifest of the disease. But again, is it a disease or is it therapy? Yeah. Yeah. Because again, is a car that has low oil, when the low oil light comes, is that a disease? Is that low car oil disease? No, that's insane. That's called a symptom or a feedback to let you know you have a deficiency of oil, and to top it back up for wellness.
Yeah.
To let the car run optimally.
A lot of the time, it's sort of like, where do you start with all this, man? And you know, it's the message I get always within this podcast, depending on who you speak to and whatnot. But, you know, because like even mental health, I mean, even with my charity, I had to rewrite all my workshops and everything to say it's mental health is a disease. You know, because that's how the government, and that's how you want to be registered as a DGR, registered and everything else. But, you know, but the thing is with mental health though, is that when you're in it, and you know, it'd be the same if you've got a chronic disease and you're dying and things as well. It would be sometimes like you're walking around in a dark room, banging your head up against the wall. Don't know what was the door that way, is the, you know, like up or down.
Me 101. Yep.
Yeah,
because of bullshit and confusion and misinformation.
For sure,
that's out there,
and a lot of what you're talking about, depending on the person, can look at it like you're off your fucking head. You know what I mean? Because we get that a lot in this society, right?
Totally.
In the Western world.
That's just why you let your results do the work.
Yeah,
do the speaking.
Yeah. And I appreciate you, mate. I think we have a full 3.5 hour podcast on this, man, because it is. But I guess for now, just in the purpose of this conversation, like, where is a good place to start at this? And I know you're going to say, yeah, reach out to you.
Well, actually, I wasn't going to say that, but that could be one avenue for sure.
Okay, well, yeah.
Because we had this conversation prior.
Yep.
It was like the discernment, like how the fuck do you know when there's just so much information out there? There's, you know, analysis by paralysis. That's like a common expression. The first invitation I usually get people to do is just reconnect with their breath. Because most people spend more time in their head than they do in reality. And the breath is kind of like the bridge back to the present moment. Lost it again, breathe. Lost it again, breathe.
I'm just going to go a step back further. Sorry, Ray. Where do you go to get this breath work? Someone that's
no. Just breathe.
Oh, breathe. Okay, Okay.
Because I remember when I was, you know, living in darkness and shitting blood 40 times a day and just in a world of pain up in my head, I learnt how to basically breathe, and that became breath work.
So to be more mindful about the breath coming in.
Yeah, because breathing physiology, you know, when the mind wanders, the breath wanders. When the breath wanders, the mind wanders. But if the breath returns, the mind returns, which is presence, which is you also in your body.
Yeah.
So that's just like when you say, where do you start? How do you start? Just breathe.
Yeah.
And I say to people, learn how to breathe into center, your center, which is sometimes known as the Hara or the sacral chakra. Da Vinci had that. The Vitruvian man, that, you know, that one that's got the circle and the square, and the symmetry of man, the center point was just below the belly button. That's where you want to breathe, because most people in chronic, you know, physiological states of what's called sympathetic dominance or hypervigilance, they're breathing up in their chest. They've got lots of tension, tightness, tension. So blood's not flowing well, lymphatic drainage is not flowing well, and nerve conduction's got that like chaotic charge, right? That anxiety, tense, jaws tight, traps tight. So learning how to breathe low, slow, deep is a tool. Because you breathe, you know, 20 to 22,000 times a day. So that's when you say, where do you start? I say start there. Because you can take all this fancy supplements. You can look up all the information, but if you're not even connected to your breath and your body and actually being in your body for most of the part of the day, where are you really living? That's again in the constructs of the minds, which is all again the judgments and chaos, right? Which is creating the illness. Which again is really the therapy, but I'll just call it the illness for all intents and purposes. The second thing, as almost like a discernment, is does this, it's going to be a bit of like a contextual one, but does this therapy align with the laws of the universe? Because if it's trying to sell me a fantasy and a hopium and this is going to fix me and it's a one-shot wonder, it's likely not. It's very rare that just like something's going to give you a pleasure without a pain, or it's going to, if it's outside again the bounds of the universe, or it doesn't align with kind of universal laws or classical teachings of philosophy or really solid universal teachings in psychology, if you know working on mental health things, then I probably wouldn't do it. Because if someone's selling you, you're going to be happy. Well, that's not universally that's not aligned. Because that's why people torture themselves. They think, why aren't I happy? There's something wrong with me. Because you're trying to seek something that's not real. You're going to have moments of being up and down, elated, depressed. Like, well, not so much elated, depressed. That's like the extreme polarity. But moments, you know, you're positive, negative, up and down, happy, sad. That's normal. It's how much do you perturb then? How much do you stabilize? We call that, you know, stabilizing your mood, because that's where you're centered. So that's a big discernment is this therapy or something I'm doing, does it feel, just even give yourself credit, does it feel intuitively like it aligns with universal laws or, you know, solid classical teachings that have stood the test of time? Or is it some new age whim bullshit that's probably not going to do much for me? That's number 2. Number 3 is, I would say, you're better off seeking one mentor that you intuitively can feel like you can trust and open to, that feels solid in themselves, and stick with one line of thought, because often you'll find contradictions.
True.
And that's when you get the analysis by paralysis. And people are trying to get all this junk food 15-second TikTok clips, and they've got a billion ideas in their head. So now they're paralyzed because one person said, this is going to heal me, and this is going to heal me. And they're now contradicting and fighting. If you don't know and you're a student and you're looking to seek wisdom, because most people are obese with knowledge but starved and emaciated with wisdom. You know, they've got information overload, but they're really starved of wisdom. Yeah. And wisdom to me is a classical teaching or a therapy or a something that is in line with the laws of nature or the laws of the universe, has stood the test of time, isn't just some come and go quick, whim, and has shown it's worked for countless people.
So when you're trying to find this mentor, this person that you can sort of stick to, or are you also just saying, like, hey, go and find breath work and someone that, runs breathwork classes, or someone like I do breathwork most days, and I follow Sandy Breathwork on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen, and it's just something. I've found easy. I can go to. He's got a range of different breathworks, and depending if you've got anxiety, if it's the morning, go to sleep, whatever it may be. But is it something that you just something that you can go and just place your hands on that you can sort of trust and feels aligned with, or you talking more like
that was more of the frame. Let me just that was more of the framework. Those three things. The fourth would be ask questions and ensure that person doing that therapy has got embodiment. They've got the certifications. They've got the experience. They've got the results. That's just your general discernment. Because if you just jumping yourself into a breath work and the teacher's done a 3-day cereal box certification, well, that's your responsibility to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Because if a breath work, I'm double trainer certified. That was my background too. For years I did breath work. If they didn't understand the basics of the autonomic nervous system and the way that when you do breath work, you pendulate and titrate, you push and pull, you've got, attunement to the person's responses, how to use touch, when not to use touch. There's so much context and nuance to these things that it's better to really get with experienced people that have established, their authority, their skill, they have the results, because the people coming in, as in the actual other breath workers, if they're new to the work, they're likely it's wise to seek mentorship from those individuals. That's how they upskill.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who's getting into this type of work, have your discernment, ask questions, walk up to them and say, hey, where did you get your certification? Where did you get your train? How much experience do you have? You have every right as that customer to ask that question, to know you're getting a product, service, or idea, in this case a service of breath work, from someone who's really competent and knows what they're doing. Or if they're newer to it, they should likely be working with someone who's more trained and skilled. Because everyone's a breath worker these days, every man and their dog. And some people are doing 3-day courses and they call themselves a breath worker. And they have no background in anatomy, psychology, physiology, titration, pendulation, the autonomics, the fascial system, tension, muscular tension, the way that works, So do your research is, in other words. That's the fourth thing to that, is just be discerning and do your research, because yes, there's a lot of places you can go to, a lot of things you can do. How do you choose? Do those 4 things I just mentioned. I think that's a great framework to start with.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Because you are important, your mind and body is important, but it's your responsibility to take care of that, And there's a lot of great things and there's misinformation out there. That's to be expected.
If you're someone like myself, I just dive into everything.
That's fine.
In a way.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can do that too.
Yeah.
I was still somewhat discerning. I did that. When I did my breathwork training, who's the organization, who runs it?
But we started off this conversation going, you've got a chronic disease. I don't know if I just dive into.
Well, if it's really critical, that's when you get someone to help you. That's when I say, message me now. We work together from yesterday. Find whatever money, pay whatever price, travel whatever distance, do whatever the fuck you need to do.
Yeah.
Because what's your life worth to you?
Yeah.
If I knew what I knew now, and I had leaders back then that I knew what I knew now in them, I would have got a mortgage out to work with them. Yeah. My life was priceless.
Yeah.
But I ended up losing a large intestine because of that, because I was kind of fucking around and just, maybe I'll just go on YouTube and I'll learn this and that, and not actually seeking proper mentorship.
Yeah.
And having an expert guide me to help heal. Now, again, part of my life and the perfection of what went on is I actually needed to lose my large intestine. It gave me a profound learning when I saw the hidden order of that. So it was part of my life. You can't fuck it up. There's no mistakes.
Here you are now.
Here I am now, for sure. It gave me a great advantage and a very, very amazing experience of what I came to know later on, because I thought it was a mistake and I thought it was, I resented and why I did this, but I found out the hidden order. But that's my message.
How long did it take you to work that out? We still...
really when I started at learning the Demartini Method.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The Demartini Method changed everything for me. Yeah. That was a big door to open. But if that's my message to the listener, if you're critical, then you don't have time. You probably don't have leverage. Get to work.
Yeah.
Grit your teeth, get fine, scrap whatever money you need to get, start a fucking GoFundMe if you need to. Get to work.
Yeah.
Because the longer you leave it, the more.
And sometimes that work is emailing me or reaching out to you or
me or anyone. I don't care. I'm not saying you need to call me. I'm just saying, totally. But just don't. It's wise to not waste time if you would love to overcome that. Because some people aren't ready to change, as you know.
Yeah.
This learning the psychology of illness was quite a profound thing too. When I confronted myself and all the unconscious motives and the ways that I was leveraging my illness, there was a part of me that actually didn't want to give it up. So that's why when I screen people, I usually ask, are you ready to give up all the things that got you ill in the first place?
Yeah.
Because what got you here ain't going to get you there. That Tony Robbins, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got.
Yeah.
So there's unconscious motives sometimes to illness, and I want to know what they are so I can help you most effectively and efficiently. It's not just taking some turmeric and going carnivore and doing some breath work. That may help, but often I find there's unconscious motives, there's extreme emotions, and I know that you're ready to work. Because there's a great expression I learned from Trevor. He's the dry fasting guy. The guy's done 20 days of dry fasting when I got into dry fasting. If you thought water fasting was intense, try dry fasting. But the Russians have done it for 60 years. That's a whole other conversation too, by the way. Whoa. But his great saying was, earn your cure. And I didn't get that at first. Now I get it. Earn your cure.
Yeah.
It's work, but it will be the best, most inspiring, most incredible work that you do.
Yeah. So for those who have got this far into the podcast, can I have the pen for a sec, Nate? We'll come up with a date after this.
Yeah, for sure.
And and if anyone's, listening to this.
I was going to say, could you do a feedback thing as well with your audience of what they would love to hear about?
That's true, we will. But for now, if we were to, I really want to go on the juices.
Like detoxification?
Detoxes.
Because you can totally fuck that one up too.
Yeah.
Chronic disease and illness?
Yeah.
Or healing and reversing chronic illness? Just put chronic illness.
Chronic.
I would also say we could go a little further into the Demartini Method because we didn't really explore that today.
Yeah.
Today was more about, I guess the principles and a lot of relationships, which I think was great.
Yeah.
Most people wanting health, wealth and sex, right? So
yeah, sex.
So sex and relationships, so we covered one part of it for sure.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Nate? Is there anything? I mean, if you're like me, I sort of sit on the other side when, and you just it's huge.
It's
what
like
you're
we
doing,
just started, but
100%.
Yeah, totally. I get that feeling.
And I guess,
well, I'm going to do this Demartini quiz of values.
Yes.
That's
a great. You can do that free. Big Terry's go to your values.
Which I'll put that link in there. Yeah. Okay. Cool, man. Well, I reckon we start
topics.
with that, and
then
we
could do 3.5 hours on that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And we could even do a live demonstration of, we could do a column 10 or a column 13, because that's again that practicality for your viewers to go, well, this is what I can now do for my life and make a difference in my world.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's on, man.
Because remember, I'm not there to make people happier, and I'm not there to take their pain away from them. I'm helping them to see the perfection in their pain.
Yeah.
That's a whole new game.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I'm not taking away your pain. I'm helping you see the perfection in it.
Yeah.
And when you do, paradoxically, pain goes away.
Yeah.
You get a new version of pain.
Well, probably another thing that we could enter into in the next one is I should really talk about what I went through as well.
Yeah, totally.
Because, a big part of that was for you to recognize the pain that was in it, but also to recognize what was the lesson in it. And would I then go back and change anything about that traumatic event that I went through to what it created and where it, who it made me today. And the question and the answer was no, I wouldn't change it. I'll go and relive that. I now relive that event going, fuck it. I'm glad that happened.
That's when true healing has occurred, because you now see a divine order in your apparent chaos.
And on that note, bro, I've been feeling really good in that area. The only other thing is that it's going, fuck, it's pinpointed a whole lot of other areas. Let's open up a can of worms.
Going, fuck, Pandora's box is open now. But better to know that now, because that's why I say new levels, new devils.
Yeah.
You've kind of transcended some of those judgments and those misperceptions. So you've now earned the right to move to the next concentric sphere of awareness, to work on more stuff, to grow. And so if you fall in love with yourself and the journey, if you marry who you become in the journey, you're going to have a great time. Because now you're shifting that energy of I need to get there, the dangling carrot, when I get that, and when I get this, and when I have that, I'll be good enough, or I'll be satisfied, or whatever. That's an empty bucket. That's a void.
Yep.
If you are in the unfolding and the happening of you and your real life experience, you're going to have a great life.
Well, it excites me. Because there's shit to work on,
It
man.
inspires you.
Yeah, it's inspired. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that's where you want to get in the healing journey. I can remember way back when, you know, like going to a men's group. It was like I can remember it took a lot of courage to even walk through those doors and get a little bit vulnerable and like, what do you mean breath work or fucking, you know,
totally.
opening up and doing these workshops. But you can always remember walking out going, fuck, man, I've just my eyes have been opened a little bit more and I'm a little bit more inspired to
That's it.
keep growing, you know.
That's it. Beautiful.
Well, until next time, my man.
Feels complete.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I feel like it's complete. Demartini is the thing that's standing out the most, bro.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
But
I'd love to share this work.
yeah,
Yeah, it profoundly changed my life. It saved my life. It's changed the lives of millions of people. And it's, you know, in all the time I've been in the healing arts, everything's fighting for second. It's probably a bias on that, but in terms of most people's feedback and the results that I get with people now, everything's fighting for second. All roads lead to Rome, but there's some things that come into your life that are really special, and that's been one
Sure.
of those things that have been. Is it for everyone? No.
No.
That's why I love that. You know, you can drink a
There's
cup of
definitely
ayahuasca and
positives,
do breath work and do other things. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. But for me, and what I feel like I'm born here to do is to help share this work. This is the culmination of half a decade of philosophy and, you know, psychology and mathematics and physics and a lot of things that have gone into this. It's a very precise, repeatable, duplicatable process to make a transformative and permanent difference in your world.
cool. We'll look at your diary for September, man, and we'll definitely dive into this Demartini, brother, and everything that comes with it.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, bro. Thanks for heaps for coming on, man. I know how busy you are too, bro.
Thank
And for you to share your time and energy and wisdom, mate, on here and giving it to everyone that's listening here, mate. Massive gratitude towards you, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys in the next one.
See you, mate.